sorry.
That's a service animal
Thank you, Kathy.
with a vest.
One minute. Good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the school board meeting this Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. The public is encouraged and welcome to address the school board at the hearing of citizens. If you wish to speak during the hearing of citizens, please pick up the card and the back of the chambers, print your name and topic clearly, and return it to our board assistant, Kathy Tompkins, over here. At the appropriate time, I will call you up to speak. Once the meeting begins, we will not be accepting more cards. Today, our flag salute is by Riverview High School JORTC under the direction of Sergeant First Class Lawrence Dawson II, and our student representative, Kai Akamoto, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Parade, rest.
Kai.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me. You may proceed, and while they're posting the colors, I would like you to stand with a moment of silence for those soldiers who died over in Afghanistan and the people in the U.S. who died over this past hurricane. Proceed.
Attention. Post. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Forward. March.
Thank you, Riverview High, JORTC, and Sergeant First Class Lawrence Dawson. You may be seated. Our student representative today is Kai Akamoto, a senior from Riverview High School. We welcome Kai. It's nice for you to join us as the student representative tonight. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Kai Akamoto, and I'm a senior over at Riverview High School. I'm in the band. I serve in a leadership position as the drum major, and that's someone who conducts the band and does other leadership tasks where they're needed. My plans after high school include FSU. My heart's set on FSU. I want to pursue music education or something in the education world. That's something that's always struck a chord with me, pun intended. So those are my plans, and my hobbies include working out, cooking, hanging out with friends, stuff like that. So that's who I am, Kai Okamoto.
Well, thank you, Kai. You just told me another thing you have in common with my grandson, Kai, who attends Riverview. He also wants to go to FSU.
Awesome. Go Knowles.
Please, go Knowles. Even though they didn't go too well against those, we won't talk about that. Please tell us about the Civility Squad character trait for September and how it affects you.
Sure. So the Civility Squad character trait for September is accept others, along with a quote saying, differences shouldn't create a divide. Instead, celebrate diversity with pride. Being a part of a extracurricular activity, band, over at Riverview, it's probably the largest extracurricular group we have on campus. And a part of that is we have a large variety in the people that we have participating in that band. So it's not just something that we accept. It's just a part of who we are. Our diversity is a part of who we are. So for me, there is no band if there is no different people. If we were all, Kai Okamoto, then it wouldn't be the band, right? It would be something else. So I think diversity is just a very big part in just who we are, It's not just something that, should be noticed. It's just something that is a part of us. So that's diversity.
Thank you, Kai, and here's your certificate. Do this one. There you go.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Ms. Goodwin has asked to speak.
Kai, I just wanted to say I think it's wonderful that you're a drum major. I particularly enjoy the Riverview Kilty Band.
Thank you.
Had a grandson that was involved in the band and graduated in 2020.
Right.
He's now at the University of Florida, but of course you lost the wonderful band director that you had last year, going back to the University of to Florida State University,
Right.
and now you have Tamara Lewis as the band director, and she's really special. So
Yes, she is.
please give her our very best regards, because I know you're in good hands.
I gladly will. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, and we have a few special presentations. Dr. Asplin?
There we go. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. The first presentation this evening is the Arts Awards and Recognition. Would Steve Cantis and Jackie Henson-Dacey please approach the podium? Here.
So good evening, School Board Chair Brown, School Board members, Superintendent Asplin, Mr. DeLeo, and Student Rep Kai Okamoto. Thank you for being with us, Kai. Awesome job tonight. Thanks for being here with us and celebrating the school board meeting. We appreciate it. So tonight, I want to thank you for allowing us to spend some time with you to recognize and celebrate some outstanding achievements in arts education. As a community and a school district that values the arts like we do, it's always nice to get together and do celebrations. We have the opportunity to do this quite often because we have incredibly strong arts programs. Collectively, we value the impact the arts has on our students, helping them engage and succeed in school, while preparing them to be ready for whichever pathway they choose after graduation. Tonight, we will spotlight some of our leaders in the arts and showcase one of our schools as a model in arts education, all of which distinguish Sarasota County Schools as an exemplar and innovator in the field of arts education. While we take the time to celebrate the accomplishments of these individual leaders, they would agree, working together for the success of all, they represent the many outstanding arts educators within Sarasota County Schools. How wonderful it is to be celebrated by state and national arts organizations this evening. So first, we will hear from the Florida Association for Art Education, followed by Booker Middle School and their principal, their wonderful principal, Dr. LaShawn Frost. And she'll be with Christine Hopkins, and she's the Visual Performing Arts Director and Department Chair at Booker Middle School. So at this time, I would like to introduce you to the President of the Florida Arts Education Association, President, who happens to be an IB and AP art instructor at Venice High School, yet another example of Sarasota's arts leaderships. To present 2 awards to our dynamic arts leaders, please welcome Dr. Jackie Henson-Dacey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cantis, and thank you, distinguished board members. Thank you for having us here. I'm honored to recognize 2 exceptional leaders in our community. The Florida Art Education Association does a yearly awards call out for nominations. And it's very common to have a few Sarasota County leaders in that pack. And I'm proud tonight to give one of our awards to Julie Ann King, who's an AP at Northport High School. She helps run the Visual and Performing Arts program in the department. She's spearheaded the VPA Magnet program with help of many other arts people at that school. And she also helped secure the Florida Arts Model School Award. When I read her paperwork, one of the things that stood out was that one of her colleagues had stated that she is a person who goes the extra mile. Always, consistently. And we're here to recognize this exceptional behavior and performance in the visual arts and in the arts plural for Northport High School. So Julie Ann King, on behalf of FAEA, your real award will come in October, but thank you so much for being here.
I'm so
And then I have a dear friend and colleague, Angela Hart-Vigson, who has been our supervisor in the fine arts for many years at Sarasota County. She's not only on the ground with us in the classrooms and there with every concern we have in celebrating all the awards that every school in the county receives for their arts programming. She received the Supervisors and Administrator Award this year. A couple of things you might not know: that she's nationally board certified. She went to FSU, studied music. She's also went to Colorado State University, receiving her master's. She's also everyone seeks her out for clinician work and consulting work in music. She's also an adjudicator. She spearheads the C-SPA steering committee, and then of course she manages EdExplore SRQ. So it's my honor to award this award of excellence to Angela Hart-Vigson.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that. And what an honor it is for Julie and Angela to be recognized by our state organization. I'm going to ask that if Julie and Angela would come up and say a few words.
Thank you so much. I am speechless, and all of you that know me know that rarely happens. I just want to say that I've been in 5 districts in 35 years, and I have worked with many departments and been honored to work with many groups and committees, but I have never, ever worked with a team of people, with a group of people. I have 11 in this department, and honestly, I need to get out of their way 100% of the time. They are the most creative, talented group I've ever been blessed and fortunate to be a part of. And they, sitting right there, the department chair, Dr. Jennings, and Chloe Dubois, our visual art leader, they're incredible. So I have to say this to you: sometimes in your life, you're at the right place at just that right time. And that was my blessing, and they are just incredible. They all should be up here in front of me. So just thank you so much. I'm so honored.
Well, I just wanted to thank the Florida Art Education Association as well. It's nothing but a true deep honor to support all of our arts educators and our art teachers like Jackie and all of our incredible members of FAEA, and to also know that there is great leadership going on at our school level and at our district level that make this job so valuable and such a pleasure every day. When I watch our students coming back to being able to make art in person and together, it really is so valuable and so gratifying. And I know even when the times are tough that I'm in the right place as well, because it is everything that I want to see and everything that our students need. So thank you to all of our art teachers and to our leadership in the district, and for all that you do to help make my work a little bit easier all the time and well worth it. Thanks.
Okay, Dr. Frost and Ms. Hopkins, would you come up, please? So now I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Frost. Everybody knows Dr. Frost here in this room. Everybody knows Dr. Frost here in this county. She's a leader on the academic side of Sarasota County Middle School. She's also a leader in the Sarasota County Arts organization. She's a leader in the state arts organization. She's also a leader in national arts organizations. She's served on numerous boards nationally too. So I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Frost now, and she'll lead their presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Cantis, and I think you forgot to add something to that. To our student representative, I too am a Florida State graduate. Dr. Moore, you are as well. So, of course, thank you to our school board members and our superintendent, Dr. Asplin. Thank you all for having us this evening. Tonight's presentation, of course, is proof that good things do come to those who are willing to sacrifice to reach a worthwhile goal. Words can't express how proud I am of our Booker Middle School VPA department. They have the creativity and the determination to do whatever they can dream. I feel proud tonight and confident in their ability to rise to the honor of being an arts exemplary school. It gives me great pleasure tonight to welcome to the podium our VPA director, Ms. Christine Hopkins, and our VPA curriculum leader, Mrs. Carrie Mills. Let's give them a round of applause.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. Thank you. Yes, my name is Christine Hopkins, and I'm the VPA director over at Booker Middle School, and this is?
And I'm Carrie Mills. I am the curriculum leader of our Visual and Performing Arts department.
We are so thrilled to be here today to speak to this highly esteemed achievement for Booker Middle School. This is a big deal, and we're very happy to be here. This year, our Visual and Performing Arts program at Booker Middle School received the honor of becoming an Arts Network exemplary school. Through this, I'll be honest, rigorous evaluation process, the VPA program at Booker Middle School reported on its purpose and mission, its long-term and strategic planning goals, the arts programming offered, and the school improvement plan, in addition to the plan for continued utilization of technical and tactical resources for both the VPA program and Booker Middle School as a whole. We are excited for this distinction to energize our school and our community, to show both the enormous success and the heart behind the program. This award is not only for the school, but also for the amazing visual and performing arts teachers who teach our students every day. Mr. Silva, Dr. Serb, Mr. Roden, Mrs. Burbridge, Mrs. Mills, Ms. Fox, Ms. Grafton, Mr. Jarvis, and Mr. Batista are an absolute dream team. They really are. And this team of exceptional instructors are the ones that should be applauded for this award. They really should. Under the highly respected leadership of our incredible principal, Dr. LaShawn Frost, these VPA instructors are able to teach to the highest standards, thus allowing us to be awarded this honor and to represent the Visual and Performing Arts program at Booker Middle School quite proudly. In addition to this award, the Art Schools Network has asked Booker Middle School to be the first ever middle school host of their national conference in the year of 2025. We're really excited about that. We are thrilled to receive this additional honor, and we are thrilled to continue to rise. We didn't write our speeches together, I promise. To rise to the occasion and expand our commitment to excellence. As a celebration of becoming an Art Schools Network exemplary school, and for being given the honor to host the 2025 Art Schools Network Conference, our very own curriculum leader, Mrs. Mills, my partner in crime, and our PLC leader, Mr. Silva, created a video exemplifying the 10 full-time teachers instructing in our 12 visual and performing arts programs, all to commemorate this honor and to proudly represent Booker Middle School, where all students are empowered to succeed. Enjoy.
10 full-time arts teachers,
12 distinct art disciplines,
a diverse and talented student body devoted to the study and practice of the visual and performing arts.
These are just some of the reasons that Booker Middle School has been honored by the Art Schools Network as an exemplary school. Our school chose to apply for this 5-year designation because we know the level of excellence that lives in the heart of Booker Nation. Students in the VPA program can choose to study up to 2 specific arts disciplines during their time at BMS. The 12 areas are 2D, 3D art, band, chorus, circus arts, creative writing, dance, drama, digital design, modern band, musical theater, orchestra, and technical theater. Over the span of 1 school year, there are close to 100 opportunities for VPA students to share their work on our campus and throughout the community.
Even during the trying times of last year, we managed to produce a socially distant festival of the arts in partnership with the Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall, which had participation from every VPA arts discipline. As if all that wasn't enough, Booker Middle School has also been selected to host the prestigious Art Schools Network Annual Conference in 2025, the first ever middle school selected. And having received these honors, you better believe we're going to be shouting about it from the rooftops.
What else makes our VPA program so great? Here are a few thoughts from some of our students.
Mimi thinks that the VPA program allows many students to really see and feel what teamwork is all about. It's a great opportunity to do what you love in a wonderful community with people who share your passions. This program is a way to learn from each other and get out of your shell.
Max says the arts are for everyone, no matter your age, race, height, or aspect. All are welcome at Booker.
Annika affirms that this program really helps students, including herself, express themselves in their own way and give them the freedom to make choices about their curriculum. She loves that it's a path to future opportunities while being fun at the same time.
And if you still have any doubts about what goes on at BMS, Lillian reminds us that without challenges and goals, our futures are mundane. We are all made to explore innovative experience to enhance our skills and make new ones. We are all made to be our greatest. Booker is the place to be.
Booker Middle VPA. A place where inner talents certainly become our outer strengths.
Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our presentation for the arts. Anybody want to have comments for the group?
Ms. Goodwin?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I know how important our arts are to our community and to our students, and what you're doing in every regard at Booker Middle is just so impressive. I've known Carrie for 150 years, I think, since she became a teacher, and it's just been so remarkably interesting to me to see where you all are and how many students you're touching. You know, when we use our left brain, our logic brain to do math and English and science, then we have to use our creative brain to the right. And of course, we all know that music and dance and drama and arts really is all about putting the passion in everything that you do. And I just feel that we're just so lucky to have you all working for us, and thank you. I know it's been extremely hard. It's been hard for Angela Hartvigsen and others. I serve on the State Music Education Board, and I know how difficult it has been for performances over the last year and a half. And we just hope that things will return to normal and we'll get back to it. But thank you for the remarkable job you're doing. Thank you for your leadership, Dr. Frost. It's a wonderful, wonderful school, and I recommend to many people that they look at Booker Middle for their children.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Oh,
Sure. I'd like to say, coming from a student's perspective, to any parent out there who's wondering, you know, should I involve my kid in any extracurricular? Should I, you know, put them in any performance art classes, anything like that? I highly, highly recommend that you do. Me, myself, I know, you know, friends of mine and me too, I know that sometimes we don't feel success in the normal, the regular curriculum, but then when we have these outside programs like band, chorus, you know, dance, all these things, you know, this gives kids a feeling of success. So to any parent, any student, I highly, highly recommend get involved with these programs. Get involved with these programs. And that's all I wanted to say about that. I think, you know, every school has something wonderful to offer, obviously, with Booker Middle School. And that's all I got to say. Yeah.
Yes, we're highlighting Booker Middle today, but we've got wonderful arts programs in all of our schools, as Kai has told us. And, you know, I'm just so glad that you're there. And I'm glad you joined the circus program. We've got a magnet program over at Sarasota High, and you're going to be leading into that. That's wonderful. There's just so many things that Sarasota has to offer our students. And we hear from Dr. Asplin next.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you to Julie. I know that it seemed like every time last year I'd come out to Northport High School, you were in the middle of some sort of performance and organizing and making sure it went well. And you do such great work out there. And Angela, working throughout the whole district, going from school to school. And I know, like I said, at the end of the year, going to all the different performances that you helped to put together and to support our arts folks. Hats off to you. Thank you for what you do. And Booker Middle School, once again, you're here again with a video, another award. Y'all are outstanding, and thank you very much for what you do for our students. Really appreciate it.
Congratulations. Good job.
Were there any more special presentations? Dr. Asplin? Are we finished with the special presentations, or are we going to the superintendent's report? It's in your lap.
We are, I had to turn it on first, finally came on here. Thank you, Madam Chair. That is it for our presentations. Superintendent's report is next. Just a few things. First of all, want to recognize Lance Bergman of Pineview School. He was recognized by Yale University, the Yale Office of Undergraduate Admissions, as a recipient of the 2021 Yale Educator Award. So congratulations to Lance Bergman. Also wanted to bring to everyone's attention that tomorrow, September 8th, is International Literacy Day. Back in 1966, this day serves as a reminder to people around the globe of the importance of literacy for everyone. We encourage families to read together or give a gift of a book to a child. So remember, tomorrow, September 8th, International Literacy Day. Also, we want to observe Patriot Day, September 11th, coming up. This Saturday marks the 20th anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks, and Sarasota County Schools has a small but memorable role in the story of 9/11. As most of you know, President George W. Bush was visiting Emma E. Booker Elementary School when he first learned of the attacks. And through a joint resolution of the U.S. Congress on December 18, 2001, September 11th, was designated as Patriot Day. So we appreciate all the thoughtful tributes and programs that our schools organize to ensure this pivotal day in world history is remembered. So thank you to all of our schools. I know they're doing quite a few things out there for September 11th. Also, just a reminder that all meals are free this year for students. So don't forget about that. All meals are free for students thanks to the USDA. And then finally, I did want to just mention a couple of things. I wrote a couple paragraphs, and I just wanted to, if you'll indulge me, I wanted to read this to you because I just feel like I need to. You know, I know the last few board meetings have been pretty turbulent, to say the least. And I know everyone's emotions are high, and people have the right to say what they wish. But I do want to say a few words and try to point us in the right direction. So as your superintendent, let me begin by reiterating what we all know and what has been said. COVID is a major concern for our school district. We hold the responsibility for student safety 5 days a week for 180 days a year. We have had more actual positive cases this month than all last year combined. Quarantine numbers are very high, causing many students to be out of school for 5 to 10 days, losing precious instructional time. We are all well aware the mask issue has caused a serious debate, and a decision has been made that a 90-day mandatory mask policy would at least attempt to help mitigate this impact. Now, with that said, I want to say firmly and remind everyone, no matter where you stand on the mask issue, our core purpose as a school district is education. And I just want to remind us of all of that. I'll be very candid, and I want everyone to hear me very clearly. I firmly believe that we are taking our eyes off of this mission, and that would be terrible for Sarasota County. During this challenging time, our school board meetings and our media coverage have turned into something very different, dreadfully disturbing, and quite frankly, embarrassing. We must move past the politics. We must move past the personal agendas and the divisive nature of our current environment so we can work together to focus on teaching and learning. Right now, our educators are spending most of their time on mask and COVID issues. We're in the 4th week of school, and I'd like to commend our school administrators and our teachers for trying to focus on education and instruction at their school sites during this very tumultuous time. I believe we must sincerely ask ourselves, do we want Sarasota County schools to be known for dramatics and politicking, or do we want to be known for excellence in education for our students? For the sake of our wonderful school district and our community, the debate and chatter about wearing or not wearing masks needs to end. The severe lack of civility that we have seen displayed in this room and on our campuses must cease. We are moving on. Our energy as educators will be on delivering high-quality education. There is a policy in place, and we will follow it. So let's remove the politics from our school district and work together on what we are here to do, and that's educate our students. So I appreciate you listening to me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go into hearing of citizens, I'd like to take this time to apologize to a lot of the people I've heard from this past 2 weeks. There's a video that many of you may have seen. It was on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, where I was saying that parents don't have ultimate rights to raise their children. And that was taken totally out of context. It was not. Excuse me. I will listen to you when you speak. That was a discussion that was held over 4 years ago when we were talking about what school board responsibilities are and when we have to take the interest of the child over the interest of the parents when we're talking about child abuse. When I'm talking about child abuse, I'm not talking about whether you wear a mask or not. I'm talking about significant welts and bruises, putting cigarettes out in a child's arm, having sexual relations with a child, neglecting a child. I think you can all understand, and I've always been an advocate for children in those types of situations. So when it comes between a parent's right and a child's harm, I am going to be on the child's side. And there also were some pictures that were posted, no clapping please, there were pictures that were posted that were showing me without a mask at my daughter's wedding in December of 2019, before we even knew what COVID was. And the pictures on vacation, I was outside, I don't know what your problem is with that. But, be careful when you're posting things on Facebook, especially when you're taking people's children and posting them out there. And when you take something out of context and repost that, it's not fair to me, the insults that came, and it surely wasn't fair to my staff or the superintendent's staff who had to take calls with such vile and rude language that they aren't paid to take. So please be careful when you read something that's out there, and also stop and think before you call and share some of those comments with people who are paid to do the work of the school district. Now we will move on to the hearing of citizens. In case anybody wanted to talk about that video, that's what that video was about. The purpose of a school board meeting is to conduct school board business. The meeting is open to the public, and as such, members of the public are given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on the school board business. We've already said if you're wishing to speak, we've received cards. I think we've got about 45 cards here. We'll call your name prior to speaking. Please state your name, and so that we can set a good example as possible for the district's impressionable students and the public that's watching. We ask that you address the board as a whole in a civil and courteous manner. Each speaker will be afforded a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. You got 45 cards. I would really appreciate it, and I think some of the members of the audience would too, if you took less than that time so we could get out of here earlier. When that time is expired, we ask that you promptly exit the podium area as directed out the back door so the next speaker can come. When you start talking, the light is green. It turns yellow when there's 1 minute left, and then there'll be a buzzer. And your microphone will be turned off, and you will be asked to leave. So that we can officially conduct school board business in an orderly fashion, a few rules apply during this meeting. First, speakers addressing the school board shall refrain from remarks which are irrelevant to the business of the school board. Second, speakers addressing the board or one another are prohibited from making remarks that are abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, profane, or otherwise disorderly, either from the podium or from the audience. We value everyone's viewpoints, and we ask that during this meeting you act in a manner that equally permits other speakers to espouse views that you agree or disagree with during their allotted time to speak. We ask that you refrain from any actions or utterances that chill another person's ability to address the school board with their own concerns during this allotted time to speak. And if we see that you are interrupting other people or disrupting the meeting, you will be asked to leave. Please note that the Florida law prohibits any person from knowingly disrupting or interfering with this meeting, and that includes individuals who advise or consult or instruct others to disrupt. We look forward to hearing your views today in conformance with these rules. These rules are intended to facilitate the efficient execution of school board business. The failure to follow these protocols may result in your removal from the meeting and could result in prosecution. We expect that you will govern yourself accordingly with this in mind. And tonight, I'm going to ask the Vice Chair, Jane Goodwin, to handle calling the citizens.
Good evening, everyone. At this point in the meeting, we're going to hear from citizens wishing to speak who have completely filled out and submitted a citizen's card. If your full name is not written on the card or you have failed to complete and sign the card, you will not be called. Furthermore, speakers addressing the school board will not make remarks which are irrelevant to the business of the school board or which are abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, profane, or otherwise of a disorderly nature. As such, it is not a forum for attacking individual employees or school board members. Any such complaints should be submitted in writing to the superintendent. This is a business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct it in an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner. We humbly ask that you act as your grandmother taught you. Be respectful of others and treat them as you would want to be treated. However, you must understand that it is unlawful to disrupt or interfere with the school board meeting, and that any such action may result in a misdemeanor offense of the second degree. At the discretion of the presiding officer, pursuant to Florida Statute 1001.372, which for purposes of public comment tonight is me. Any individual who interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting will be removed. Finally, as public servants elected by the people of this county, we'll be listening with open minds and open hearts to your comments, and we respect your First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. And as a citizen of this great country, you must understand that your rights are not absolute, so that you are free to speak your mind, but you cannot defame an individual or yell fire in a crowded theater. With rights comes responsibilities. Thank you. First up, Laura Tello. Laura Tello. Laura Tello. Douglas Tignum. Douglas Tignum. Where are they? Can somebody go yell for me? Okay, go yell. I think those people are outside. Laura Tello, Douglas Tignum, Cheyenne Tidwell. This is the last of the cards.
We'll reset it.
Cheyenne?
When do I start? Okay. My name is Cheyenne Tidwell. I have 3 children, a 6th grader, 1st grader, 1 in VPK here in Sarasota County. I'll be presenting information from numerous scientific studies from the CDC, NIH, and the WHO, just to name a few. Regarding COVID-19, ages 0 to 19 have a survival rate of 99.99815%. School and daycare transmission studies excuse me, show that transmission of COVID-19 among unmasked children is remarkably low. Sweden kept schools open and unmasked during the pandemic. Neighboring Finland, schools were closed temporarily. Both countries had the same infection rate of 0.05%. A study in Australia found that children are less likely to transmit the virus than adults. Child-to-child rate was 0.3%. Child-to-staff rate was 1.0%. Staff to child was 1.5, and staff to staff was 4.4. The NIH also cautioned against the use of cloth masks because of moisture retention, reuse of cloth masks, poor filtration resulting in an increased risk of infection. Masks compromise communications and reduce social distancing. People must not touch their mask. They need to change and wash them frequently and dispose of them correctly, otherwise their risk and those of others may increase. The WHO, which has changed its position repeatedly on universal masking, is adamant that face masks that are not worn carefully, correctly, and kept sanitary are worse than ineffective. Masks collect and colonize viruses, bacteria, and mold. In Germany, schools are open and masks are optional. An analysis was done to investigate the level of microbial contamination after a mask was worn by a child for 6 to 8 hours in school. What they found was alarming. The oxygen-lowering effects of mask forces the body to compensate by increasing heart rate and deepening inspirations. This will drive the mask pathogens deep into the lungs where they can cause serious pneumonia, inflammation, and tissue damage. Thus, the mask-wearing child is at imminent risk for harm caused by lung infections that are far more dangerous than COVID-19 infection. An alarming explosion of bacterial pneumonia is being reported across the country, and I can tell you that my 4-year-old is currently one of those cases. 97% of viral particles from symptomatic carriers penetrate through cloth mask. The virus is 1,000 times smaller than the tightest cloth threading, while simultaneously increasing the risk of respiratory infection of the wearer 6 times. Face masks and stay-at-home orders prevent the development of herd immunity. Your decision to mask our children is political. You're not following science. You're not healthcare providers and should not be allowed to make medical decisions that will harm our children. If so, then you will be liable for health issues our children will have due to your illegal and political decisions. We, the parents, do have the all-encompassing right to raise.
Thank you. The next time I see this clapping, the woman in the blue hat in the back, the next time I see you clapping, you're out. With a red shirt, looking backwards to see who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you. Okay, next I have Sean Frost, the Honorable Sean Frost. Where is Sean? Sean Frost? Raina Bazzini. Raina? Greg Wones. Oh, here comes Raina. Okay.
My name is Verona Bazzini. You should know that by now.
Get it more directly, please, into the mic.
Oh, is that better? Okay. My name is Verona Bazzini. I've been in Sarasota since 1960. I just want to say amen to what Dr. Asplin said. This is a wonderful country. Our diversity is one of our best assets, but it's also a liability. And I think we have a diversity of opinion, but we also have to be careful of our facts. A lot of the data that people are talking about are dated and taken out of context. So I just appeal to people to really listen to one another, and opinions are one thing, but facts are something else. And this is a wonderful country, and we want to keep it. Let's go back to that saying. It goes back to Aesop's fables. It goes back to our founding fathers. It goes back to President Lincoln. United we stand, divided we fall. Please respect one another and listen to one another. And those of you that want to appeal, you can do this or you can do this. It's very quiet, but it's effective. Thank you.
Greg Wones. Greg Wones. Niraj Tooley. Niraj Tooley. Jason Picciano. Todd Suff-Inglis in Venice, 2169 Weaver Boulevard. You need to write more clearly. Todd. Michael Springer. Michael Springer. Jason Finger. What? Okay. You're up, Michael.
Good evening. My name is Jason Ferger. I wanted to come down here personally and congratulate each of you. Please give yourself a round of applause.
No applause.
In my wildest imagination, I would have never dreamed that there would be a school board anywhere near as terrible as Hillsborough County. But here you are, making dreams come true. Surely there can't be one of you who got elected as a high school dropout. Is that really true?
You're warned. You're warned. That's your first warning.
Surely,
no public assaults and no public attacks. You've been warned. The second time you're done.
Anyhow, if that's really true, I just want you to know that Hillsborough actually elected one that caught a felony charge a couple of years back. And I do want to ask you, did you all actually ask your attorney how to break the law? And then afterwards, he gave you legal advice, so you fired him? Simply amazing.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.
There is.
Have a nice evening. We're done. Thank you. Take him out.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
We're
Point
done.
of order, Madam Chair, please. I feel there's a difference.
That's enough. We will clear this whole room and have a meeting without any of you if you do not stop. That means no clapping. This is a meeting with proper decorum. Please be quiet. Sit there as an adult would do. We're not going to have any attacks on board members or on this body. That means none. You're here to talk about school board business, not about anything else. Next, we have Jason Ferger. Jason?
Jason just went in.
Where is he? What?
Hello, my name is Michael Springer. I am a Sarasota resident, a small business owner, and most importantly, a father of 2 children enrolled in Sarasota Public Schools. This is the first school board meeting that I have attended in person because I have a business to run. I simply have reached my breaking point and must oppose your tyrannical mandates to my utmost ability. To my knowledge, none of you are scientists, and staying at a Holiday Inn Express isn't going to help you make your case with me. I am not here to provide further information regarding the efficacy of masks. I am here to voice my complete and total opposition to your illegal and tyrannical mask mandate. While the courts are still deciding the legality of Governor DeSantis' executive order banning mask mandates, the courts are not overturning the Parents' Bill of Rights, which is Florida law. Your recent vote to mandate masks has signaled to the community and to the children you claim to serve that you have no regard for the law. Most of the people I know feel that there is something extraordinarily wrong with the world. If you are paying attention to international events, you will realize that tyranny is running rampant in nations that once claimed to be free, such as Australia. And if you, our local school board, are willing to destroy one liberty, you will surely attack others. I stand in opposition of tyranny. I stand for liberty. You are trying to coax people into submission through fear. Jesus said, let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Well, I, along with a vast majority of Sarasota patriots, are certainly not afraid. And we, the silent majority, are silent no more. Since we are discussing liberty versus tyranny, I'd like to leave you and those watching this with the following quote from Patriot Sam Adams. If ye love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. Thank you.
Amanda Larkin. Amanda Larkin.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, who are you, sir?
I'm Greg Wands.
Okay, Greg, I called your name earlier.
Yeah, they had me outside. So,
Sorry, Amanda, you're next.
first of all, thank you for the opportunity to talk and voice some concerns I have. We see this pandemic coming as a wedge in our families, our church, and our society. We see it to the point that we're hating each other at times. We see it in our kids, that they're scared to go to school because they don't have a mask on. But we see studies that show that it is not as dangerous as everyone. And I have documents here for you, if you would like, from different resources from the medical field that prove masks do not help. What we have to do as a society, and what you have to do, is start building trust back in the people that you serve. It is important that we do that today, because I look around this room, I see people hurting on both sides. If you want to wear a mask, that's your prerogative. If you don't, it's your prerogative. We should not dictate how we tell our children, and put fear in them. It reminds me of McDonald's. They come after the kids by giving them a little Happy Meal toy. The parents said, the child said, let's stop at McDonald's because I can get a toy. So if you program the young kids, you have control of what's going on. And today, that's what we're doing. And I'm totally against it, and I thank you for your time. And
Thank
may
you.
God bless America.
Amanda Larkin. Amanda Larkin.
Hello, my name is Amanda Larkin. Thank you for allowing me some time to speak tonight. My question this evening to the board is that on August 31st, 2021, we received an email right around 6 p.m. from Dr. Asplin. It stated that there would be a new face mask certification form effective September 1st. I had then emailed in my exemption form for both my son and my daughter before midnight, August 31st. My son's exemption form is accepted. They are both signed by a pediatrician. My daughter's form has been denied. Let me read to you why. In an effort to apply consistent interpretation of the face mask policy, medical exemption process, the school district has updated its medical exemption requirements. consistent with Florida Statute 1003.225B and subsection 2C of the recently enacted Florida Department of Health Emergency Rule 64 DER 21-12. The district will accept such medical certification regarding whether an individual is an exempt from the emergency face mask policy from medical doctors licensed under Chapter 458, which is what my medical doctor is, and you accepted it for my son. You denied my 5-year-old daughter. My 5-year-old daughter went to school the other day, August 31st. She was handed a face mask, and she knows that if she would like to put it on, I'm okay with that. I prefer her not to wear it for her medical reasons. But if she would like to wear it to fit in, because that's what it's about for 5-year-olds, then she can. So she put it on. She then took it off because it's uncomfortable. She came home crying, and I was notified later that evening that the administrator gave my daughter such a hard time, told her she would not call my mother, her mother, and told her that she's not putting up with that attitude and that mouth today. She will wear that mask. Do you know how hard it is for me as a mother who wants to do the best for her child? I don't agree with the exemption. It violates my parental rights, but I will turn it in for her so that she can have a good day at school and not be harassed. And you denied it. Signed by Sarasota County Schools. I want to know why.
Jody, can you please meet with her out there? Thank you.
Eric Cox. Eric Cox.
Good evening. I'll be pretty short and sweet and to the point. Just talking about the idea behind masks saving children, or that children have any possibility of being an issue. From January 1st, 2020 till now, there have been a total, this was checked today, of 400 deaths of children 0 to age 17. In that same amount of time, there's been approximately, the number's not real accurate, but 800 suicides the same age group. The under 45 years old accounts for 2.9% of all deaths from COVID-19. Arguably, just about every parent to a school-age child in this county and in the country is 45 years old or under for the most part. So the idea that you're saving lives and saving the world by making kids wear masks that are restrictive to their breathing and extremely uncomfortable is kind of a farce. Not sure how many of you are familiar with the IEP or 504 plans for children. These suicides, I bring up the suicides because there are a lot of kids that have emotional issues, that have these issues, and they need that facial recognition. There's kids that have issues that maybe that popular girl in school simply smiling at him will change his week. And that doesn't happen with these masks. They're extremely restrictive. I don't have a whole lot more to say about the masks other than I think it's purely political. I really do. As of today, I'm going to formally request, as a parent of 2 children in Sarasota County, that Mr. Tom Edwards put in his resignation. Being married to a member of the Communist Party, and I have record of that, is a conflict of interest.
You've been warned. You've been warned. None of that.
That is
I'm
direct-
not
that
allowing you to talk about a school board member. This is not the purpose
That relates to the
of
school
this. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Have you got something else to say that is not defaming to a school board member?
No, thank you. Have a good evening.
Eric Cox? Is that Eric Cox? Brian McNamara? Brian McNamara?
cards got reversed somehow. I was the second person in line. I've been here for the workshop. And I was one of the first ones to sign the card. Can I take his place?
No.
The cards got reversed somehow.
I just took them as they came to me. Brian McNamara is not here.
I was the second person in line. I was told I would be the second.
Ronald Springman?
Yes.
Is that you?
Yes, that's me.
Then you're next. Come right up.
With all the false and misleading COVID information, no wonder there are so many anti-maskers. There's been little reports about COVID cases overseas, so let's go down to New Zealand, whose prime minister is a national hero on her following the science and handling the pandemic. The country has a population of over 5 million, which has less than 4,000 cases with only 27 deaths. How did she accomplish this? She locked down her country in March of 2020 for 3 months, mandated masks indoors and outdoors, social distance, 14 days of quarantine of all arrivals, and contact tracing of anyone potentially infected. By doing so, the last COVID case was on June 8th, 2020. As of August this year, she once again locked down the country and mandated masks for 14 days after Delta variant was discovered. After 9 months of no deaths, New Zealand just reported its first death this year. Auckland, one of 1.6 million, only has 2 deaths since the pandemic started. Let's put that in perspective. Florida's Taylor County has only 22,000 people and has had more cases and deaths than New Zealand. Here is a fact that to ponder. There are around 16,000 Americans living there, and not one of them have died from COVID. Does anyone here think any of them would want to come to Florida? Our governor must know of her success, but instead attack CDC mitigating science, resulting in more deaths. Why would he jeopardize Floridians? Like many self-serving politicians, I assess he does it for his own political fundraising from companies like Regeneron, his not so laughable Don't Fauci My American junk, and filling the hospital beds and ICU units, which reap billions in revenue for HCA and other Florida medical centers. And why is he punishing school districts who mandate masks? I believe he does it knowing if the number of cases dramatically drop in those districts, it would hurt his reelection chances. DeSantis owns over 45,000 dead, which many are directly caused by his flagrant disregard.
No disrespect to the governor.
He uses the same playbook. He uses the same playbook of Trump.
Sir, you have been warned. Please remove him from the premises. He's not listening. Please remove him. Please remove him from the premises. He's disparaging the governor. Go. Thank you, sir. Have a nice evening. Martin Hyde.
On. 1, 2, test.
Okay, can you all hear me? I'll use my inside voice. Quite a disgrace to take the speakers out of order. You know, if you want to take politics out of it, stop playing political games. My name is Martin Hyde. I'm a local taxpayer, a parent, and I'm proud to be an American citizen, which still means free, despite there being some on this board who think otherwise. Follow the science has been a term much used over the last 20 months. The fact is that last week we saw here that our school board will reject expert opinion when it suits them, which rather flies in the face of trusting qualified experts. When the school board attorney from a highly regarded law firm offered his advice on
Mr. Hyde. This is your warning. You're starting to.
No,
yeah.
I'm not.
Yes,
no,
you are.
No, I've spoken here twice, and you've interrupted me twice. That's your third strike. I'm going to carry on. When the school board attorney
Mr. DeLeo.
offered his advice, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm simply stating a fact that you fired the attorney because you didn't like his advice. Now, let me carry on. Subsequently.
We did not. He still works for us.
Okay, if we're going to have a back and forth, we can do that all night. They'll
No,
love this.
what we can have is you can stop, because
All right,
if
we're
you
done.
start.
All right. Isn't this exactly like the flat earthers dismissing Pythagoras and Magellan as cranks? For a school board to conduct meetings that stomp, yet again, on free speech, not because it's disruptive, because it's not what they want to hear. It's not only outrageous, but it's flagrantly illegal. I'd invite our governor to watch the footage where the board chair turns off a citizen's microphone because she said that she wanted to pray. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's not a multiple choice statement on which a school board chair selects which rights they'll protect and which they'll crush. This is about politics. It's about virtue signaling. And it's about 3 non-parent board members trying to override parental choice. Simply put, what the governor gave to parents on our Bill of Rights cannot be denied. God himself gave us in Colossians 3:20, "Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord." It says nothing about obeying Shirley Brown.
Goodbye. Jennifer Cottrell? Jennifer Cottrell?
Hello, good evening. Jennifer Cottrell. I spoke at several board meetings over the past few months, and each time I've always stated that we need to remove the politics from these meetings and focus on what is truly important, and that is the education of our students and the support for our teachers. Yet time and time again, it appears that nobody can step out of the political arena and work together for a common good of the students or the teachers. I watched the workshop today, and it is very visible that the board is still divided along their party lines. What is it going to take for all of you to take the politics, to put the politics behind you and join forces for the common goal of supporting our students and teachers? I mean, isn't that what we're all here for? For the education of our students? I know the past few meetings have been heated. It seems the community is divided just like the board is divided. People are passionate about their children no matter what side you're on. The passion at times can come across in a heated manner. Both sides are guilty of it, not just one side. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. What I'm saying is we all want what is best for our children, and we will never agree on that. It's just how the world is these days. In a perfect world, we could all agree on how to raise our children, but this world is far from perfect. What is good for one person's child is not good for another. What is good for me might not be good what's good for you. I guess what we really need to address is the elephant in the room. That is that we are all never going to agree on things, but we should be able to respect one another's opinion, even if it's different from ours. We can respectfully agree to disagree. We need to listen to one another respectfully, and I stress the word listen. Don't immediately put your hand up and tune them out because you're on the other side. Don't we have enough division in this world? Must we continue it on the board and in our school community? The only people that suffer because of this is our students and their education. They are watching us, all of us. This is what we're teaching them, that it's okay to bully one another, to stomp our feet and scream when we don't get our way, and it's okay to disrespect someone because they have different beliefs than we do. I was raised to stand up for what I believe in, even if I stood alone. And I was raised to do it with respect and dignity. Can you imagine what we could accomplish if we all just listened to one another and came together and focused on our passions, on our education of our students, and not seeing who can outdo who the most? Instead of working to further divide our community, let's focus on bringing it together. I know this is going on all across the country, and it's not just here in Sarasota. But wouldn't it be nice for Sarasota to stand up and be an example of how things should be? How about we reach across the aisle and offer each other the olive branch, and let's accept it instead of breaking it and send it back in pieces? Wouldn't that be something to teach our children? Teach them how to cooperate and work together, even if the most difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ashley Wise.
Thank you for giving me the time to speak. I want a lot of snapping back there. My daughters attend Pineview, both with honors, and most likely will be enrolling in A Time for Learning if things don't change. Some school board members, not necessarily here, wants to engage in political theater instead of common sense. We want to break governor's executive orders, which ultimately gives the decision to the parents. Masks, let's discuss the masks. It weakens our immune system. The mask doesn't even prevent us from getting a virus. The mask covers our children's faces, impacts their individualism in school, ultimately impacting their oxygen levels. But you want to wear them for COVID. Does the board know the recovery rate's 99.8%? The flu, the cold, same numbers. Where is the flu and the cold? Does anybody know in the room? Children are the least impacted when it relates to COVID deaths. You want our children to wear the mask, even if there's a vaccine mandate, still got to wear it. The vaccine even engineered and manufactured for extreme profit against us. The school board doesn't even know the long-term effects of the vaccine. And I'll be praying for all of us because an executive from a pharmaceutical company expressed that there's going to be 5 total jabs. Poor human brothers and sisters can't even question the media, the tyranny, and the unconstitutional mandates about any of this. This is why Governor DeSantis was elected to govern our free state of Florida, the only free state at this moment. Common sense and the Constitution supports all of our positions. If this board or any board continues to support mask mandates, I promise all these patriots will fight against it. Defunding, electing new board members that have common sense and don't want to engage in political theater, and finally, caring about what's important, what everyone's saying, is the student's curriculum. Be respectful of others, this one lady or 2 ladies says to everybody, but do they even care about the parents of the children? The circus program they mentioned, there's only one circus program that I know of, and that's the majority of the school board. I'm done.
Jimmy Carrillo.
Good afternoon. Jimmy Cirillo. I'm a father of 2 children here in Sarasota. According to my count thus far, the board has violated the rights, liberties, freedoms, and laws in the following manner. According to my count here, we have the governor's executive order, that's been violated. We have our parental bill of rights, that's been violated. We have the Florida Department of Health, their law, requiring a simple parental opt-out, that's violated. Then, when the Florida Department of Education gets involved, not even citing the governor's executive order, not even citing the parental bill of rights, they went back to the Florida Department of Health's order saying, why aren't you following this simple parental opt-out? It's totally ignored by this board. How can you just ignore that, that from the Florida Department of Education, the Commissioner, Richard Corcoran? It was really concerning, and this is not a personal attack. This is not a personal attack. So when you say that you didn't fire the school board attorney, okay, but that guy looks really different from the guy I saw up there last month. So if he's not fired, where is he? As ticked off as I am about all the egregious actions, I am actually here to thank you today. I really am. Without you, the parents and the voters of Sarasota County would have continued to sleep in ignorance. You 3 have single-handedly activated and motivated every single mom, dad, and voter in this county. We look forward to retiring the 3 of you or your chosen successors. And I got a little announcement of my own. It's 3 years away. I never thought I would be at a school board meeting speaking. I never thought I'd have to force a kid of my own to wear a mask. But you've activated me. I didn't vote in the last local election. Shame on me. So I'm letting you know right now, one of you that doesn't come up until 2024, I'm letting you know right now, I'm coming for your seat and I'm going to win it.
Melissa Baconi, and stop the clapping. Please.
Dr. Asplin, school board members. Agenda item 40, Greater Florida School Boards Program wants to increase funding to student mental health and wants to make tax levies good for 10 years instead of 4. Please stay out of our children's health care. This school board wants to make our tax levies last longer because they don't want any public input or accountability. Vote no on this rubbish. I mean, do you really want this school board controlling your child's health care? Dr. Shirley Brown here, graduate of Good Morning America's medical school, can't wait for you to inject your kids with this dangerous COVID vaccine because we have to trust the science. Therefore, unfortunately, almost everything the CDC has told us has turned out to be false. Therefore, we do not trust the CDC or you, Ms. Brown, to make medical decisions for our families. Okay, I'm going to uncover some corruption here, so please let me have my First Amendment rights. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 39, approval of upcoming tax levy. Here is why the Sarasota residents will not be supporting the tax renewal. The corruption runs deep. Tom Edwards allegedly paid $2,000 to George Thurlow.
Have a nice evening. What is dancing? All right. I know it's agenda, but you're striking out at a board member, which is not in that agenda. Do you understand that?
My mic is on. Can I have my 3 minutes, please?
No.
Okay.
Continue.
I'm sorry?
Continue.
Can I have my 3 minutes,
No,
please?
no.
How many minutes do I have?
Just continue right now with where you were.
I would like to know when my mic is going to be cut off. Because I have a lot of corruption
We're not
to
cutting
expose.
mics off. Continue.
Okay, 3 minutes, please. Tom Edwards allegedly paid $2,000 to George Thurlow to have a false complaint filed against opponent Eric Robinson so he could win the school board seat. Tom Edwards seeks to break the law when he doesn't agree with it. Isn't that what Antifa does? Maybe we could ask Tom Edwards, Mr. Edwards, the taxpayers want to know, is in fact your husband an active or past Antifa member? Ms. Goodwin allegedly received $8,000 kickback from the Nolan Group. Ms. Goodwin, taxpayers would like to know, in what capacity were you employed by the Nolan Group to collect such compensation? It appears on your tax return. Jane Goodwin does not believe in public input and is mum on the subject. Ms. Brown believes the government has the sole authority over your children, not the parents, and you are not talking about child abuse. You are talking about the LGBTQ. If we do not believe
Thank you. That's it.
Should have.
Have a nice evening. Please remove. Please. Please. Your time is up. Thank you for being here. No, you're done. Thank you very much. That was a personal attack.
3 of them.
Thank you. Remove her, please. Please have her leave. Remove her, please, officers, now.
Call a recess.
Where's Taminas? She has no time left. She has been doing personal attacks. I ask her to leave after a warning. Chief Enos, please. Paulina Testerman.
Well, she was talking on agenda, she was fine, but then she started the nasties.
You called him and he was outside.
Good evening. Can you hear me? There we go. Good evening. We are representatives of Stop the Spread SRQ, and we are here today to represent the like-minded Sarasota County citizens who support us and support the mask mandate. Between the three of us, we have 4 children who attend 4 different Sarasota County public schools. You may recognize today that there will be few pro-mask representatives to speak in support of masking in our schools. Please know that just because we are not taking up the spaces in the seats behind us does not mean that we do not want our voices heard. In fact, many of our group are not here in person because we recognize the dangers of enclosed spaces and the risk of COVID exposure. We have consciously chosen to not participate in the 3-ring circus that these school board meetings have become. We have consciously decided to not clog up the school board meetings with our testimonies. We are not here to yell, we are not here to threaten you, we are not here to spout off misinformation, lies, or unscientific data. We will not carry on like poor examples for our children. We are here to simply state the following emphatically. We support masking in schools because the evidence proves that masking is the easiest and most cost-effective way to mitigate the risk to our children. Can a mask stop COVID 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But just as seatbelts can't protect us in car accidents 100% of the time, that doesn't mean we stop wearing seatbelts. Seatbelts mitigate risk in car accidents in the same way that masks mitigate risks in the classroom. We are also here to show support for our Sarasota County medical community for their tireless work. We are here speaking on their behalf while they work to save the lives of our fellow family, friends, and citizens. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts, and their comments and messages of support are greatly appreciated. We all 3 signed up to speak, and we'd like to speak in tandem.
No, we can't do that.
Can you tell me the next person in line, ma'am?
I'll just call the next person. Jules. Jules. Jules Solaire is next.
Yes. Good evening. Hello, I'm Jules Soulier Scholes.
Oh, okay. I have a card for you.
I also have a child. This is going to be. I want to go on the record before I even get started with the rest of the things that I have to say that many times today through the workshop and, even this evening, I have heard you guys talk about how passionate the 2 sides are. We are passionate about science, fact, and they are passionate about being bullies. That is what this is. I did not.
You're out.
This woman here actually told me to F off in front of her child, so I don't want to even go there.
The fellow in the red needs to leave. The fellow in the red needs to go. I've already warned you once, and this is the second time. You're not to speak, and you in the red shirt, right in the front row. You spoke before, and I warned you, and this is the second time I've warned you. It's time for you to go. Thank you very much.
I'm going to take my 3 minutes now, okay? We are not on the same playing field here. We respect the CDC, the ADA, the AAP, all telling us that at this point in the virus, it is the only way that we can protect these unvaccinated children is to wear a mask. I'll stop and wait for you guys. Go ahead. But this is... I'm sorry, I did not threaten you on Facebook.
Okay, she's gone.
How did I threaten you on Facebook? Are you confused?
And the man in the red. I asked for the man in the red in the front row.
I'm sorry, but I did not
Please
do
take
that.
these 2 people out. Are you not listening to me? Calling recess for 5 minutes.
There's a gentleman sitting there, and he's waiting. Call me.
Well, I wasn't going to call, I was going to.
No, it's not.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 4 goals tonight. The first one is that, we would like to ask you, the board, in the future, that any sort of, written, change or anything like that, just be a little bit more clear. Because as we saw what happened, when Dr. Asplin issued the change from any medical professional to, actually medical professionals, we had a line of 150 families that, figured it was okay to kind of lie and cheat their way through the system to get a medical exemption from a guy who didn't actually examine them. So we want to make sure, we were there, it didn't happen, sorry. So we were there and we know what quality of examination was going on during that. So the other thing is that it has come to our attention that many of these parents are attempting to, as they have twisted the science behind COVID, they are now taking the Bible and cherry picking various verses and saying that they have a religious right. We want to make sure that the board knows that we have personally investigated the legality behind that, and there is no precedent for that whatsoever. And this is why the side that is in favor of science and decorum does not come to these meetings. So we just want to make sure that, you are aware that, it is being planned that they, kind of cherry pick Bible verses. We'll be sending you like a 9-page rebuttal to the Bible verses that they picked. Again, this is why people don't want to come here, is because that is what we are up against. We also are encouraging you as the board to instruct your administrators to compare some of these medical exemptions to the physical forms that these children are using to enter into school sports. Because if a child cannot wear a mask, they probably have breathing problems to the point where perhaps they should not, it would be a liability for the school to allow them to participate in a school sport if the breathing problems are to the extent that a mask cannot be worn. Again, I just want everyone here to notice that this is why we don't come here.
Thank you. Up next, Michelle Posey. Michelle Posey. He's next.
I'm going to try not to eat the microphone like I did last time. Michelle Posey, District 3. I've been working the last couple weeks on trying to get some facts from last year, and I thought maybe you guys could help me with that. Maybe there's, just as a suggestion, a place where we could post the numbers from last year of the total amount of COVID cases, maybe the hospitalizations. Because I know that I'm just a layman, but in order for me to determine if we've gone someplace good in the last year, I think we kind of need to know where we started. And in the midst of kind of the hostilities, I don't know if we've really done that. Maybe I missed it, but if you could work on getting that on a website, that'd be great. And if in fact we still are dealing with COVID cases, I just don't know. It feels to me like maybe what we did last year didn't work. And we did masks. And the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. We once said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and here we are a year and a half later. Nobody's denying that COVID exists. I lost my dad last year to that, so my heart goes out to the parents that want to mask your kids. I want to be a part of helping them mask because I love you just as much as I love the other parents. It's not about that. But for the scariest virus in the history of humanity, No daisy print mask is going to stop it. You tell us to follow the science, yet we are told that the contact tracing is 6 feet for 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. So the virus obviously knows not to go 5 feet for 14 minutes for 23 hours. That's not science. When you give up your liberties in the name of protecting your health, that's your choice. But when you try to offer my liberty, you've crossed a line that's a non-starter. Where is the ingenuity and problem-solving skills that we have no other choice but to infringe on parent rights? That's the best we could do? This county deserves true leadership, not criminals who look for a way to break the law. And that's not an attack. That's literally a recording from the last meeting, 2 meetings ago. I feel a bit violated as somebody in District 3 because the person who was elected to represent me basically told me in so many words on social media that because of the way I voted, I'm a Nazi. You don't represent the people, the good people of District 3, Mr. Edwards. So enjoy your time there.
You're warned.
Thank you, because I'm coming for your seat. Keep my seat warm.
Byron McNamara. Byron McNamara.
Thank you very much, guys. Patiently. Good afternoon. My name is Byron McNamara. I'm a combat disabled veteran here. I am a father of 2 local kids in the Sarasota County School District. I'd like to take this moment to just recognize the loss of life for our soldiers in Afghanistan and those lost off the coast of California and their families and the people trapped behind enemy lines to this date. We will come for you. I am here to speak to you about the decision on wearing masks for our children in Sarasota County. Specifically, I'd like to address the decisions made by the committee on how those decisions were made and what effects they have on our children. In a previous board meeting, there was a question asked by a board member, how do we break the law? And what is the appetite? Do we have to break the law? Another board member said that I'm doing this for the best interest of the children. Another board member said that they wanted to adopt a locus parentis way about doing this. I would like to thank you for having this approach. However, I believe the actions of this board have resulted in some unintended consequences, things that a lot of the parents tonight haven't been able to express to you or get across to you. We all have real concerns for our mental and physical health for our children. I will read a letter that was given to me. Students in the Sarasota County classroom were asked to take a public survey last week. The students were asked to raise their hand if they were vaccinated. They were then asked to raise their hands for unvaccinated. At this point, the school teacher vowed to the classroom it would be her sole purpose to make sure that all unvaccinated children were vaccinated. In another school, a second grade teacher approached and told her kids that your parents are wrong. They do not care about you unless you tell them to get vaccinated. They do not care. That is what's going on in our school systems right now because of the decisions, I believe, in my personal opinion, that the committee has made decisions on. The tactic of public humiliation and degrading of our children cannot be accepted. This goes against the school board's policy 2.0 under discrimination, and those teachers need to be found and disciplined and let go by the school board. In my opinion, this school board's abrasive intent to disregard law promotes actions like this. Not only cannot be accepted, the school board has promoted these actions. The masks have a real effect on the children in more ways than just the cloth over your mouth and nose. Mental health is one of the most researched and critical concerns for child as they develop and grow. The research has shown to be effective in children for years and possibly for a lifetime. When making the decisions to mask our children these concerns, the research should not be and cannot be ignored. The research into COVID-19 effects on children has not impacted the children enough to discount all the years of research on mental health. On to the letter that's dated September 1st by Schumacher Law Firm. It goes into different references about the advisory board. I do believe that the committee is making...
Thank you.
Chris, can you? Thank you.
Leonard Lopin. Leonard, you're next.
My dear fellow citizens, I also wanted to thank you for giving me time to speak to you. As you can hear, I have a German accent. My name is Leonard Lopin. I'm a resident of this beautiful Sarasota County since 2007. I'm an immigrant from Germany. I was born on the other side of the wall, Iron Curtain. So if you feel a little bit emotions in me, that's for a reason. I have 4 children in the Sarasota County School District. And some parents already mentioned what happened to them. Similar stories. My little one in elementary school took her mask off temporarily for a moment and was severely shouted at by the administrator. So it's no fun. It's really no fun. When we're talking about the science, it is about education. The most basic principle of education should be in this country freedom, personal liberty. That's where people like me give up everything where they're coming from and come here. So if it's not about freedom as the first principle, then what are we all doing here? We should go back to our other colonies or other places. So the next thing is, so yeah, it is about child abuse. That's why I'm emotional about it. Least invasive. The mask are not least invasive. You know it doesn't work. You know the virus is in the air. 58 days it floats around. It's aerosolized. I'm a computer scientist by background. It flows through your nose. Yeah? I don't have to have a medical degree to understand that. It's so basic. We can do much better. We could get UVC lights, air purifiers. They're not super expensive. We could put them into the schools and the air is clean. They kill 99.99% of viruses. Why don't we do something that's actually working? So I really don't understand it. A quote, Nelson Mandela said, "We will be judged, every generation will be judged the way they treat their children." This masking is a very, very, very slippery slope. Every totalitarian regime on this planet uses these little tiny infringements on personal liberties. If they're very small, you don't notice them at first. They all make sense. Every rule that came out of East Germany or that Hitler enforced, they all made sense. In particular, our children were given, imagine this, they were given yellow cards. They went into the schools and they were hanging around the exempted kids' yellow cards. Can you believe that? That's completely insane. You know what that reminds me of, don't you? The little yellow star. And then they segregated the kids in school. Of course, how else would the teachers know which kids have an exemption and which doesn't? But if you really understand and take a step back where this logic leads, the next thing is a jab, the next thing, and then they find out a year or half a year later, oh, it had these and these side effects. If we do not respect personal liberty and the respect of the parents to decide with their doctors what's good for the children, then what are we becoming? Where is this going to go to? It's really, really scary. Trust me, and if you want more personal history information in my family, I can give you a lot of history about this little slippery slope that we're on. So yeah, it's for me personally, this is a very scary situation. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Jason Brunt. Sorry, what is your name, sir? Todd what? You weren't here? Yeah, I don't see it, Todd. Let me look for it. I just called up. Did I call up the next person? Jason Brunt. I'll look for your card.
Hello. I'm speaking here tonight on not only behalf of my children who are currently enrolled in Sarasota County, but also as a homeowner, where my property taxes pay your salaries. The way you guys have behaved in defiance of parents, changing the rules overnight to disrupt freedom of choice and speech, has been embarrassing to watch. The behavior with the mask exemption forms after hundreds stood in line for hours to see a chiropractor to get their medical exemption form signed was immature at best. Then making parents tonight also jump through hundreds of hoops and doctor's fees to get the new set of walking papers signed so that way we could show up here without masks is even more disconcerting. Expecting a mask that allows particles up to 80 microns wide to penetrate through it when the virus is 0.12 microns and floats on aerosol droplets of 3 to 5 microns is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. It's like expecting to swat a gnat with a tennis racket. It's not about science, it's about compliance. When you deliberately ignore well-qualified doctors and scientists just because they do not share your radical progressive stance, you are not encouraging science, you're engaging in propaganda. I want to read a passage from a book I've recently read. Quote, "And it is worth noting that the struggle for the culture was waged perhaps in its bitterest form around the school, because this was the nursery where the seeds had to be watered, which were to spring up and form future generations. The tactical objective of the fight was the winning over of the child, and it was to the child that the first rallying cries was addressed." This is a passage from a book called Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. Now, I know you feel righteous in your conquest to force mass mandates and force compliance against the will of the people, but let me remind you, many German citizens, like we just heard from, also felt righteous as they cheered when Jews were cleared from their streets. Just because the government and media tells you something is justified does not mean that it is. For Christ's sakes, what's next? Are we going to send our children to the Lausanne chambers if they're unvaccinated? In the Bible, which you don't like, I get, Romans 16-17 states, "I appeal to you, brothers, to watch out for those who cause divisions and create obstacles contrary to the doctrine that you have been taught. Resist them." Thomas Jefferson says, "When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty." As a veteran myself and millions of other soldiers who have defended this country since 1776 to secure our freedoms, as well as the millions of active and retired police officers who took an oath to defend our country from both enemies foreign and domestic, I am here today to tell you that your Fourth Reich behaviors are to stop now. I demand that you cease and desist. We the people are angry, and we're commanded by our Bible, our Constitution, and our oaths to put an end to your tyrannical and destructive behavior. This is a hill that me and many others are willing to die on. My children are not your SS soldiers. This is not 1930s Germany. This is America. It's 2021, and your progressive heads are so far up your rear ends, you're going to have to cut holes in your nipples just to see what the hell is happening around you.
Thank you.
It is time that you stop. I demand you stop, and we the people demand you stop.
Thank you. I've heard enough. Thank you. Todd Sefferling.
Bit of a tough act to follow. Well, thank you very much for letting me speak, and I certainly appreciate it. And I do appreciate your time and the fact that you put the effort you do into our schools. I really didn't know much about the school board till 2 weeks ago, and I kind of wish I still didn't know. So I do appreciate that you care for children, and that's why you got into the school board and you did it. But I'm not going to convince anybody on the school board that masks are good, masks are bad, or there's any problem with it. I just do know that the decision you made 2 weeks ago has negatively impacted the education of our children, and I believe needlessly so. You couldn't leave well enough alone. And I think that would have been a better, smarter, wiser course of action. I thought the mic drop moment of the night was when Dr. Asplin asked the attorney, is this legal? And when the attorney that was present at that time made the answer, I thought that was the end of it, but evidently not. I'm not going to use all of my time, but I'm going to read a little quote, and it says, it's from C.S. Lewis, "Of all the tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep, his cupidity may at some point be satiated. But those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience." Thank you.
Laura Hackle.
Let's bring you down here. I have to start?
Go ahead.
It's true. You have taken your eyes off the goal of education. My name is Laura Hackle. I'm the mother of an elementary schooler from Northport, standing before you for the first time. Until now, I was complacent, satisfied that my local school had good staff who enjoy their jobs and thriving children. So the board must be doing something right. How wrong I was. We were thriving despite your efforts, not because of them. I should be thanking you for showing me that now I need to get involved, that you do not, in fact, have our students' best interests in mind. I don't know what you have in mind, but it isn't the welfare of our students. If you had the students' welfare in mind, you would gather and use data that measures actual risks to students, staff, and their families, rather than a meaningless metric, the test positivity rate for the whole county. If you had the students' welfare in mind, you would have made some effort, any effort, to assess the risks inherent in applying a medical-grade device that you are not qualified to recommend, and present these risks to us, the parents, along with evidence to support its potential benefits. You have not done this, and therefore you have not satisfied the first requirement you should have met before considering any action that overrides a parent's right to decide, that it be reasonable and necessary to achieve a compelling state interest. If you had the students' welfare in mind, you would have taken considerable effort to utilize the many less restrictive options that have been shown by the CDC to be more effective at reducing transmission. For example, adding UV sterilization to air handlers and increasing time spent outdoors have a more significant effect at reducing transmission than any other mitigation effort. You have not done this, and therefore you have not met the second requirement you should have met before considering any action that overrides a parent's right to decide, showing that our shared goals cannot be achieved by any less restrictive means. If you had the students' welfare in mind, you would recognize that a child's relationship with his parents is the first, most influential, and the most durable adult relationship that any child has. And you would not enter into any action in such an adversarial way as you have shown here these past few weeks. You would not undermine the trust between parents and healthcare providers by making the bizarre decision to invalidate certain healthcare provider signatures after the fact, citing, of all things, the very Department of Health document that very clearly instructed you to respect a parent's right to opt out. You're in violation of the Parents' Bill of Rights, which is Florida law. Your lawyer said as much. Where is Mr. Dugan now? Thank you.
Marlene Norgard.
So I think everybody also has like a, misconception about the anti-maskers. We are not about anti-mask. If you want to mask your children, just want to put that is your business because they're your child. I don't want it on my child. That's what I want. So we're not anti-mask. My name is Marlene Norgard. You've seen me before. I'm a military spouse, and I'm here today with my 2 kids, really late because I don't know what happened to the cards. I am here today with them because their daddy is off fighting for them tonight. He deployed. He's gone. I want my children to see what corruption looks like when people overstep, when the people who govern us value money and control over little human beings. When our school board thinks it has the right to dictate the future of our children, there is a problem. The only people who have the right to speak on such matters is the mothers, the fathers, and the guardians of our community who have skin in the game, because none of you do. We make up the majority. We are a powerful group of people. I think you all need to be reminded that you work for us and we do not work for you. I think it is time you're reminded of the definition of school board. It is a governing body of people elected to oversee management of a school district and represent the interests of residents. Does that sound anything like what you are bringing to us today? Masking, vaccinating, and such other medical decisions is up to the parents of those children. Those children belong to us. They came from our bodies, made up of our blood and flesh as God intended. My taxes pay for your services, therefore I have a say in what my children learn, wear, and see. And today they see disappointment. They see anger and frustration. They wear a yellow tag marking them as non-compliant, which in turn has caused bullying and rejection. My son can't even play with other unmasked kids, or masked kids. So your decisions ultimately made things worse. I should not have to protect my children from the people who took an oath of leadership, and yet here we are. I will not beg for you to change your ways. I will urge you. Because lest we forget, we are no longer just the silent majority, and I am a lion, and you will hear me roar. Here is my one and only ask. Resign now. You have no business governing our children. Thank you, Pelosi.
No clapping. Barbara Vaughn. The next time, I saw some people that, yeah, I did see some people this time. Come on, Barbara.
My name is Barbara Vaughn, and I've come to follow Superintendent Asplin's advice and the sign you have there to speak kindly. I'm going to speak very kindly because I'm going to speak to my Lord about you. Dear Lord, you know these people. You know the positions that they're in. You know their hearts and their minds. Jesus, I'm asking you to turn their hearts, heal the evil ways that seem to lead them in the wrong directions. Lord Jesus, please seal their mouths from saying any evil and close their ears to all but kind words and words that would come from you in the matter of guidance and understanding. Lord Jesus, this COVID is not of your making. It is not of any of our making. We're doing the best we can, Lord, and we're relying on the science that you give us through our learned people. Keep them, Lord, in the science and giving us the right directions. Give this school board the right direction. Help them to understand what is so wrong with the decisions they've been making. And Lord, lead them home where they belong, not on this school board. Jesus, we come to you as a group here tonight. And for those who may be of different faiths, Father God, Yahweh, we appeal to you. We appeal to you to hear us when we cry to you, when we speak kindly to you and implore you on behalf of the children in this county. We thank you, Lord. We thank you for hearing our prayer. Amen.
Chad Myers. Chad Myers.
Hi, thank you. My name is Chad Myers. I have an 11-year-old at Pineview School and an 8-year-old at Lakeview Elementary. And I wanted to first just start by saying to Dr. Asplin, I agree with most of what you said earlier. I think the one thing that you may not understand, though, is that certainly I don't want to be in this fight. It was brought to me is why I'm here to fight for my children. It's not that I want to do it, okay? And I think that's a lot of people in this room. Once I had the realization that 3 random people could make health decisions for my children, you have to step up and start making yourself accountable to that. It needs to be said out loud that this is the 3rd school year in a row that our kids have been restricted due to COVID. It's been 18 months, but it's 3 school years. Now, what do you guys think that does to an 8-year-old or an 11-year-old? That's a lifetime to them, okay? They're missing out on these freedoms that they should have, and why? We're told to follow the facts, follow the data. Unfortunately, that does not back up these mask mandates. There was a Johns Hopkins University study a few months ago where they studied 48,000 children that had COVID. They were all healthy children, no comorbidities, 0 deaths. So the chance of a healthy child dying of COVID is next to 0. The CDC just released their data from August 2020 to August 2021. And this is about 73 million kids in this country, a little over 70 million kids. About 1,800 hospitalizations and 8 deaths. So again, the data is not backing up these mask mandates. There was the school study in Georgia where they looked at 200 schools. Half of them had mask mandates, half of them did not. It was inconclusive. They could not pin down whether mask mandates had any change at all in COVID, okay? France, UK, Italy, lots of these European countries that had very strict COVID lockdowns, much stricter than ours, they are now going the opposite direction and saying they're not going to mask their children. Absolutely not. Now, why would that be? Well, because it don't work and because it hurts our children. Dr. Fauci himself was quoted in a June email of saying the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out the virus. And we've talked about that a lot tonight. The way these kids wear the masks as well, the way you guys wear them, I don't see a person that wears them correctly as far as what a medical doctor would say, even if they worked. There's no way my 8-year-old and my 11-year-old are wearing these things correctly. They have gaps in them. They touch them all day long. They touch surfaces. So they don't work. And they're not necessary because our kids are just simply not as at risk as you may think. There's so many exclusions and reasons they can take them off that it renders them about useless anyway over a full day. It's all theater and it needs to stop. We have to allow our kids to be kids, to see the smile of their first crush, to see the look of pride from their teachers, to hug and high five and dance and hang out with their friends. We need to allow our kids to breathe freely. The most disappointing part.
Thank you.
Is that time?
That's time. Crystal Matuzas.
Crystal Matuzas. I know some would rather believe we are monsters. It's easier to paint us as uncaring, uneducated conspiracy theorists than acknowledge that we are humans just like you, with families, beliefs, doing what we feel in our hearts to be best. I know it's easier to cheer for mandates and hate the hesitant, non-compliant when it's something you agree with, but someday it won't be. Freedom to decide what goes on or in our bodies is vitally important. Yet even as you look at me like this and judge what you don't know and want to strip away my rights, I still see you as human. I will still fight for your rights and your freedoms. Have you thought about the stress you are putting on teachers and administrators? Educators are your greatest asset. Dedicated teachers use their precious family time to make weekly lesson plans, investing their own money for our children's literacy, prosperity, and future. COVID times have overextended and stressed these teachers. They are exhausted from doing their normal job of educating our children, which is their #1 priority. Now they spend valuable instruction time focusing on whether or not students are wearing a mask, monitoring seating charts for possible contact tracing, figuring out how to provide instruction and materials for sick and contract trace students, and so much more. You should be ashamed of yourselves for changing the medical exemption form to suit your power and your control. Well done. You have just confirmed all our suspicions. You just want the control and the fake news supporting your agenda. Shame on you, Shirley Brown, Tom Edwards, and Jane Goodwin. Our country is certainly heading toward communism, and mask mandates are just the beginning. Mandatory vaccines are next until we have no freedom of choice at all. This is your chance to open your eyes and stop trying to control our children by instilling fear and division. Parents, it's time for us to resist. We will not accept mask mandates. We will not consent. We will not comply. We choose freedom. Let's not determine the need for masks with our feelings of fear, but with real facts and science. I pray for the people living in fear over this virus. These people are not living, but fearing. We must live and be courageous. To conclude, Job 14:5. You guys might like this. Our time on earth is brief. The number of our days is already decided. Every man has been allotted a number of days here on earth. None of us will live 1 minute beyond the time that God has already given to each of us. None of us can escape death, for it is an appointment that we will all keep. It cannot be canceled or avoided.
Thank you. Dominic Myers. Dominic Myers. Angela Wynn.
Hi, I'm Dominic Myers, and I'm here protesting about the illegal. Let me just point that out. It's illegal what they are doing, against what the governor has said. That they are forcing on schools in our district. You may think that my parents wrote this and they just want me to protest for it because they think it's right, but no. I'm here because I feel like a dog in a kennel being masked up. And the question is, why? Why do they want us to wear these masks so bad? There have been 4.2 million children that have tested positive for COVID-19, and 0.008% of them have died. When parents force their kids to wear masks, it's not for the child's safety, and it's not for the parents' safety either. It's because it makes them feel better about themselves. And that is called child abuse. And they have tried to force this on us for 1.5 years. But you know what's missing from all this? The facts, the data, the numbers, the graphs, and the common sense, whatever you want to call it. They can't prove it. And studies have shown that we can only breathe 80% of the air that we receive when we wear the masks on. How would this affect the minds of me and my peers? The masks couldn't even help anyway because one COVID particle is 40,000 times smaller than the parting of one of your hairs. Please, when you get home, search up Stephen Petty podcasts. His videos are 2 to 10 minutes long and tell the truth about the masks. Now tell me, is there any reason that the masks are good for us kids? Anybody have a reason? Exactly, that's what I thought. My dad interviewed my principal, and he said that he couldn't even comprehend why they were putting this on us. And it's illegal, but they have to follow it even though, they just, yeah. Anyways, thank you for your time. We have a right to breathe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Byron. Angela Wynn, I did, yes.
Oh, that's gonna have to be.
What fun.
Hi there, my name is Angela Wynn, and I have a 9-year-old in the Sarasota County School District. As my cohort said before me, I am here to represent the Stop the Spread SRQ. Florida is averaging over 300 deaths per day, and the anti-maskers don't seem to want to help our country get back on its feet. Being anti-mask is the most unpatriotic and un-American thing you can do right now when we are facing a global pandemic of massive proportions. We want clarity with regard to how the board members individually view COVID and the recommended mitigation efforts. Specifically, Bridget this week retweeted a post from opinionist Scott Moorfield, which stated that everyone needs to come to the realization that they are eventually getting COVID and to prepare accordingly. We ask Bridget to be transparent about her COVID strategy for our children. Comments like this one make us feel that she is not, in fact, fighting to protect our children. It causes us to wonder whether she has already thrown in the towel because she doesn't agree with the body of scientific knowledge that states that masks do, in fact, mitigate the spread of COVID. We ask that she make her platform clear so that we are able to ascertain whether she is still fighting for our children's health and well-being or not. Lastly, we are tired of our school board being the butt of the joke. We want the school board members to demand respect in these chambers, demand dignity, demand decorum. Do something about the three-ring circus that this room has become. Make the rules clear. Remove anyone who violates the rules of conduct. Hold people accountable. If anyone claps or yells, there should be no warnings given. They should be escorted out of the room by the police officers. Empty threats only further embolden the instigators to continue acting out. Be proactive instead of passive. The anti-maskers' goal for this room is lawlessness and chaos. You are just allowing it to happen, but your pacificity is encouraging it. We will not contribute to the yelling and aggressive antics of those who cannot argue the point, but instead choose to attack the person. He or she who yells loudest is not always right, and truth does not belong to them just because their voices are raised above others. We should all be better than this. In conclusion, we present to the board over 250 signed petitions that we collected in less than 5 hours, and we have obtained over 700 signatures on the online petition we started 5 days ago. In total, we have filled this room with an additional over 1,000 people who demand that you fight for our community's health and well-being. Along with our pages of signatures, we have also emailed the school board a 9-page rebuttal to the religious mask waivers. Thank you for your time and your continuing to support mitigating the spread of this deadly virus with the mask mandates.
Thank you. See, there we go again. You just can't do it, can you? Be quiet, please. Silence. Byron Willie? Byron Willie? Or Byron Wiley? Well, Lourdes, Northport. Northport. I guess it's Brian Wiley. Yeah, I just couldn't read the pencil. It's too late. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay, thank you. All right. Never been to one of these. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I have a 5-year-old daughter who just started kindergarten. She was very excited about it. Mr. Asplin, you mentioned one of the most important things was education. That's where the core value lays. Imagine being 5 and trying to learn how to enunciate words with masks on your face. Literally impossible. Can't do it. Okay? So that's one thing. Miss Goodwin, you mentioned using the left side of our brain for logic, right? You said that earlier. So Mr. Delio, the mask you wear does not cover the spread of illness and diseases. Mrs. Brown, the mask you're wearing does not help with the spread of illness and diseases. Mrs. Goodwin, the mask you're wearing does not help with the spread of illness and diseases. Mr. Edwards, the mask you're wearing does not help with the spread of illness and diseases. Mrs. Rose, you're violating the law right now by taking off the mask that does not even work. And Mrs. Ziegler, the mask you're wearing does not help prevent from the spread of illness and diseases. And neither does the 3 musketeers that just left, who are fighting for our children. None of this makes any sense. We've heard the numbers. I think it's 4.8 million kids that have tested positive. 386 have died. Regretfully, that's very sad. Totally understand it. But that is a minimal number of 4 million things. That's crazy. So what is it really about? That's what I really want to know. What is it really about? Because the masks do nothing. Who's paying you? Who's doing this? Because I had no idea I was coming to talk to a bunch of criminals today. I've learned all kinds of things. Mr. Edwards, Mrs. Goodwin, Miss Shirley Brown. I'm going to pray for you tonight.
No
That's fine.
personal
I'm gonna
attacks.
pray for you tonight because you can't listen
No
to an
personal
old lady say a
attacks.
prayer. So I'll pray for you tonight. So don't worry about that. What else is there? You know, I was thinking this isn't even relevant, but 3,400 kids die of SIDS each year. Very sad. 3,400 in the U.S. Maybe we should allow the government to just not let us take our kids home from the hospital. That's a problem. Not 300 kids, over 4 million cases. So maybe the 3 Musketeers can open up a daycare and take all of our kids for the first year. And we can get some sleep. And of course, they have all the problems. They'll fix everything, right? Or maybe you guys could do it, because that's a real problem. Not this. This is not a problem. I read the package yesterday. You guys, on the package, it says it doesn't work. You still got it on your face. For what? Literally makes 0 sense. And I'm okay. I'm not an irresponsible parent. I love my kid. Aria, it's thundering and lightning outside. Let's grab our golf clubs and go stand. No, we're not doing that. We want common sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, y'all.
Thank you. John. John Wilson.
Dr. Aspen, I like what you said in the beginning with your speech. But I think when you say that speech, you need to turn around and take a look at this school board. Because you want unity here, but this district is hanging by a thread. And don't forget, when they're gone, you're still going to be here. On another note, Kim Ellis, Aaron D. Castillo, and Brittany Shirley. Do any of you guys know those names?
Yes.
Good. These are all the names mentioned in the DJ case who have altered documents. Okay, why are these people, these untrustworthy people, still working at this district and around our children? The parents want an explanation, and we want them terminated.
This is not something that should be discussed, John Wilson, at a board meeting.
Hey, this is my time.
No, it's not
Yeah,
your time.
this is my time.
No, it's not.
Okay, I want to
You're
move on
warned.
to...
That's your first warning.
I want to move on to, I'd like to commend Booker Middle on their art achievement, you know, but let's look at Booker Middle, their FSA scores for this year. 6th grade English, 37% passed. 6th grade math, 35% passed. 7th grade passed. ELA, 39% passed. Math, 35. 8th English, 43%. Math in 8th, 31%. But let's go ahead and make sure that they have the arts instead of teaching them to read or write or do math. It's pitiful. The last thing that I want to address is the quarantine policy. The quarantine policy is, you need to revisit that because already we're going to start filing complaints against the health department and Michael Drennan because you are not separating the vaccinated. The vaccinated are spreading to the unvaccinated. The vaccinated does not have to take a PCR test. They do not get quarantined. This doesn't make any sense. It's clearly shown in the elementary schools because the cases are so high. Why is it so high? The vax teachers. The vax teachers don't have to be tested. They don't have to be quarantined. Don't forget, listen, my daughter's 8. I'm going to be watching for a long time. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
No clapping. You in the front row. I can see you very well when you're clapping. Please don't clap. If I can't see somebody, I can't catch them, but be warned. Zandealer Mason? Mason? Did I get that right?
Hi, my name is, can you guys hear me okay? Okay.
Could you move the microphone down just a little bit?
Okay.
That's
My name
good.
is Xandra Mason, and I'm the mother of 2 phenomenal little girls who you will never see in this school system if the current tyranny continues. I'm currently working on a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, and I would like to present a counseling perspective on the crisis we're facing as a community. One key tenet of counseling is that of multiculturalism and diversity, something we're all familiar with as it's been a hot topic in the news this past year. As counselors, we maintain that each person is a multicultural being, a unique blend of the myriad of influences and internal authenticities that make us who we are. Each person is seen as the expert on themselves and is granted full autonomy in their care. The counselor assumes a collaborative role and allows the client to direct the goals and delivery of service. This means that my personal beliefs do not ever come to bear on my client because my role is to help them achieve their goals, not mine. These same guidelines apply to our school board, especially since you're elected specifically to represent the families of this county. Mask mandates violate the importance of our cultural diversity. Another key tenet of counseling is a clear schema for identifying who owns the problem. The person who is experiencing discomfort is the one who owns the problem, not the person causing the discomfort. And right now, our school board has this backwards. The people who are afraid right now are attempting to make everyone around them responsible for assuaging that fear. This does nothing to solve the problem of their fear and only creates problems and crises for others. Acceptance and rejection of medical interventions, and yes, masks and COVID testing are medical interventions, are personal choices based on spiritual beliefs, cultural values, healthcare needs, and the fundamental human right to bodily autonomy. What is best for me and my children may very well be different from what is best for you and yours, and those differences need to be honored. In loco parentis, while perhaps well-intentioned at its inception, has clearly grown into an egregious abuse of power and a reign of tyranny over our children. Whether driven by your own fear or a lust for power, you've revealed yourselves as unfit civil servants and representatives of the public. As a mother, as a local citizen, and as a helping professional, I stand before you to advocate for reason, rights, freedom, and individual autonomy as I hand the fear back to the individuals who own it. Stop trying to parent our children and do your job and educate them. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexis Spiegelman.
Hello, my name is Alexis Spiegelman. I'm the Sarasota chapter chair of Moms for Liberty. There's a famous document that talks about what happens when a government commits a long train of abuses against its citizens and illegally seizes power. Such has been the patient sufferance of these Sarasota County citizens. The history of the present majority of our Sarasota County School Board is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these constituents of Sarasota County. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. They knowingly continue to break the law, violate our rights and their oath of office. The Florida Bill of Rights highlights some of the fundamental rights of parents, including the right for parents to make medical decisions. This law prohibits the government from interfering with these rights without demonstrating such action is reasonable and necessary to achieve a compelling state interest. This April, Florida Surgeon General issued a statement that long-term face coverings pose a risk of adverse and unintended consequences. This July, in Governor DeSantis' executive order banning mask mandates, he cited studies indicating that forcing children to wear masks could inhibit breathing, lead to the collection of dangerous impurities, including bacteria, parasites, fungi, and other contaminants, and adversely affect communications in the classroom and student performance. It is reasonable to conclude that unless the state is interested in a slew of class action lawsuits and criminal liability for harms incurred by citizens, this action is not in its best interest. Governor DeSantis and the Florida Department of Education appealed the lower court's ruling, effectively leaving the governor's mask mandate prohibition in place. The mandating of masks is also a violation of the Department of Health emergency rule, as it states parents have the right to opt out of any mandate. It also prohibits the discrimination and segregation of students not wearing masks. A.G. Moody advisory legal opinion, which states, "It is my opinion that the district must comply with the Department of Health rule and other applicable authorities unless and until the judiciary declares them invalid." The three-person majority on our board cannot eliminate evidence that does not support their side of a hypothesis and then try and impose their flawed conclusions on others in the name of science. We all know this. The attempts to ignore facts that you do not like does not change the reality of the situation. On that note, in reviewing the minutes from your last meeting, it appears that Dr. Asplin's comments about the illegality of your decision to mandate masks, along with the since-fired attorney's comments stating that the same were not included. It also seems that though you omitted all the comments by the majority of citizens that spoke at the last meeting and all of the emails that opposed your decision to infringe on a parent's right to choose, why is that? While you ponder that question, I'll leave you with this. It is not the crime, it is the cover-up that does the damage. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Ecclesiastes 12:14. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Snake. Elizabeth Snake. Teresa Bassnight.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Bassnight. I'm a nurse, and to be honest with you, I'm more concerned about some of these board members than I have COVID-19, even though it's a real disease. With all due respect to Dr. Asplin about not making it political, your masking is carrying sign on 41 is political. When Ms. Brown, Mr. Edwards, and Ms. Goodwin defied Governor Ron DeSantis' emergency order regarding mask mandates and imposed their own views over a parent's right, what's best for their child, made it political. Apparently, even your former attorney was concerned it was inconsistent with the Parents' Bill of Rights, the governor's emergency order, and the health department. You did not like his advice, so you fired him the day after that meeting. Currently, you're discriminating against students with mask exemptions by making them wear bright green lanyards with a bright yellow card, which make them stand out amongst the masked students. The mask-compliant kids aren't required to wear a lanyard. Laurel Nakoma School has had their principal and administrators going room to room, checking to see who has the mask exemption and so forth. So they know who has mask exemptions. It's redundant to make these children wear these bright green lanyards and bright yellow cards. It's totally inappropriate. It's wrong. And I personally feel it's a civil rights violation. Lanyards are not necessary. You already know who has the exemptions. You're segregating one group from the other, and that's wrong. I think more time should be spent on getting these third graders up to a reading level. 66% is the lowest we've ever been in this county. And also, if there's a lot of time on their hands, school teachers' morales are all-time low. Nobody wants to be a teacher. There's a substitute of shortages, so maybe these board members, Ms. Brown, Ms. Goodwin, Mr. Edwards, you can volunteer your time and sit in these classrooms and teach the students, or don't teach the students, but maybe be an assistant to the teachers. Because this is unacceptable. It's an overreach of government, and it's unfair to the parents to take their rights away. Thank you.
Do we have a child clapping in the back? Please stop. Ashley Cody? Ashley?
Good evening, Ashley Cody. So, fair for all. Let's see. I heard several people mention stuff about Bridget Ziegler. You didn't cut them off. You didn't warn them. So how is it fair for all? Just curious. So as far as still being fair for all school, all students, how is it okay the Democratic Party was out here on the street, right here across from us, signing people up to vote 2 meetings ago, but yet you just said yes, they were. You're shaking your head, Miss Brown, but they were here. We have a video. Don't interrupt me, please. Also, you just made a group praying over here be escorted off by a cop. Someone did. Who did that? How is that okay? How is that okay and how is that fair? So let's go back to being fair for all. We come here, I've been here every meeting, right? I sit here, I listen to everybody, I follow up with emails after. I told you all the issues we had last year. Nobody wanted to hear them. I've asked for mask breaks. Please define your program. Please define your rules. You have teachers and principals who are doing whatever they want in their schools. You all have no idea. Are they getting mask breaks? Or do they have to wear masks outside because your mask policy says outside in crowds? Is that recess? Do they still have to wear their masks? What's the definition? I would like to know. Also, fair for all, how come you're allowed a member, since we can't do attacks, how come a member can sit there and read emails from people who were too scared to show up? How's that okay? Only from one side. How is that legal, Mr. DeLeo? Also, I would like to know how it's okay that this mask policy and this form was changed overnight. Who approved that? What vote did we have on that? Because we had to vote on a mask policy. We had to publish it. So when did that change? And you gave only 24 hours when you sent that email. You also said you employ the superintendent. Dr. Asplin, we love you. We are so proud you are here for our county. Please do not let them bully you. I am sick of it. We are all sick of it, and we stand behind you 100%. Do not let them put you down. Do what's right for our children.
Crystal Fowler.
Hello, my name is Krista Fowler, and this is my little sister Skyla. I'm currently a 9th grader who's in the pre-ACE Cambridge program and have been in advanced classes since kindergarten. Academically, I'm a mostly A honor roll student with a couple B's because nobody's perfect. I'd like to address my growing concerns over the school board, the mask mandate, and my education. Throughout my years in school, teachers and staff have made it clear that bullying is not permitted. However, the mask mandate passed and the tyrannical enforcement shows me and fellow students bullying is okay when you're a person of power. Furthermore, last year in my civics class, I learned about ex post facto laws and how they're legal, which is exactly what you did when you changed the mask exemption rules. Speaking of the mask exemption, it's appalling that students are being segregated and labeled simply due to not wearing a mask. I thought segregating, labeling, and singling out groups of people was a bad thing, or was that part of history erased recently? Over the past year, people have been protesting about my body, my choice. How about now? It's my body and it's my choice of not wearing a mask or not. There are several students at my school that feel the same way, but are afraid to speak out because of the consequences that may follow. My friends and fellow students, myself included, have been told we would be sent to in-school suspension for not complying with the mask mandate. Eventually, we'd be kicked out of school and lose our right to education. I've done my own research on COVID's effect on teens' mental health. Last September, a survey was done. 27% of teens experienced anxiety and 15% faced depression. 40% of the people surveyed didn't seek help. Those numbers were taken from a small survey. If you were to make those numbers based on our state or country, they'd be overwhelming. To conclude, kids like myself are watching your actions. You are supposed to be the authority and role models. Leaders are supposed to lead and give guidance, not forcing others into compliance. They say dress for the career you want. I'm still deciding, but perhaps I may pursue a career in the legal field to protect people's God-given rights. Thank you, and God bless.
Jerry Norden.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Nodine. I'm a 37-year resident of Sarasota. I'm a voter, and I'm a hard-working taxpayer. A couple of weeks ago, I viewed a video in which a woman who I do not know stood before you at this podium and said she wanted to pray for 3 members of this board. As she began, a voice hollered, "No, she is not. No, she is not. Turn off her mic." At first, I did not want to believe that this could happen to a citizen in this county. I was hoping it was just a bad audition for a remake of The Exorcist, in which a hysterical voice cries out at the sight of Father Damien's crucifix. But alas, it was real. I find it troubling that a supposedly mature public official would display such a lack of self-control. I also find it amazing that some of the people who are in charge of our children's education know the least about a document called the United States Constitution. And that also they need constant reminding that they work for us, not the other way around. I happen to be an unapologetic Christian, but I don't care if it's a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a member of the Church of the Gooey Death standing up here. If they're here in public comment, they by God need to be heard, instead of being without hysterics from self-important elected officials. As I said, I'm a Christian. And the Bible, if I may be so bold as to mention that word, tells me that I need to pray for those who trespass against me. But it also says other things. In the 7th chapter of Matthew, it talks about 2 different types of trees, those that bear good fruit and those that bear bad fruit. It says, and I quote, Therefore, by their fruit ye shall know them. As I look out over this beautiful, magnificent orchard of freedom, I can spot real close three trees that bear bad fruit. And I can assure you that on election day, those trees will be hewn down by our votes at the ballot box. Thank you.
Janet Gutter. Janet Gutter. I'm sorry, James Gutter. Is there a James Gutter here? Carly Sullivan.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I've been here a lot. I haven't spoken a lot because usually I can't get here until after they stop all that and stuff. So my name's Carly Sullivan. I've sent emails. I've been doing this for about 18 months, flatten the curve. Here we are. So I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. I think I said this last time I spoke because I only have a few minutes to put my thoughts together because I now am the proud mother of 3 homeschool children, one who's still part of your school system. That's why I continue to show up while daily homeschooling 3 children, which I actually really enjoy. So that's good. But I'm really it's awful the reason that I have to do it. It's because, whatever. Okay, so where am I? I will begin by saying, so I guess I can say thank you and I appreciate things. Okay, so you do. And Dr. Asplin, let's start with Dr. Asplin. Dr. Asplin, I actually really appreciate that you made it known that, 1, you were interested in following the law. I appreciate that. That was good. 2, that you thought that it would be a divisive move to mandate masks for our children, particularly after 2 weeks when they hadn't been wearing them. And probably almost everyone at school wasn't wearing them, which obviously shows their opinion on it, because they're allowed to, they just didn't. So clearly the will of the people is to be able to choose, and everybody chooses not to. So I appreciate you bringing that up and then saying if we put it back in place in 2 weeks after things, it might make people mad. And I mean, you were right. So it makes people really mad. Here we are again and again. We're mad. So we're going to be really nice and speak kindly about how we're mad, but we're mad, really mad. Okay. Next, Bridget. Bridget, I just appreciate the way you continue to stand up for us. I appreciate that you continue to be a sound voice, that you not only know what's happening in these meetings, and so you order them well, and you help direct the meetings when other people don't know what they're doing, the chairs. But I appreciate that you do that. But not only that, you consistently show up. You show up not just here. You show up to outside things that show that you have a very, your values connect with what you continually do. And so you continually stand up for what you believe. You continually operate out of that. The way, even just parenting your children, taking them out of the school system. I get it. I mean, I wish you didn't have to do that, but I get why you do that. So I appreciate that. And I just appreciate that you actually listen to us when we come here rather than look down, read your emails, drink water, walk out of the room when people are praying. I don't know, just things like that, which is particularly rude, but continues to happen. So, Karen Rose, I appreciate that you like the law.
Thank you. Lee Sullivan. Lee Sullivan.
The other stuff I probably would be kicked out for anyways. My husband, he's coming. I just have to go get him because they wouldn't let my 5-year-old daughter in here who's homeschooled. So they wouldn't let
All right, I'll call on somebody else and you can go get him. I'll call on this person and then he can speak after. Mark Geyer. Mark Geyer. Is Mark here? Mark Geyer. Mark Geyer. Are you Mark Geyer? Oh, okay, come right up.
Thank you. My name is Lee Sullivan. You just heard from my lovely wife. I want to read a portion of the Sarasota School Board Officer Oath. I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and the government of the United States of America and of the state of Florida. Florida State Statute 1001.41 states, the school board is charged with determining policies and programs consistent with state law and rule. Can you sit there and attest that you have upheld and secured the blessings of liberty? That is the state of being free within society from the oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behaviors, or political views. Those unalienable rights we are afforded under the Constitution. Can you attest that your policies and programs, specifically the emergency mask mandate, are consistent with state law and rule? Do you have statistics on the Sarasota County COVID-19 mortality rates in the past 4 weeks since school commenced? Those statistics would suggest that the virus is extremely recoverable at this point, particularly so from a pediatric data set. This virus is not going anywhere, unfortunately. It's here to stay, much like the flu. Thus, why not look at mortality data as opposed to case data? That would seem to be a more specific data set to the gravity of this virus, and you're charged to protect the population which you serve. What can you inform us regarding the research you have performed to ensure children won't be psychologically, emotionally, or physically damaged from consistent mask usage? Can you publish a peer-reviewed study on the virus transmission mitigation from mask effectiveness to the county school board's webpage? At the beginning of this meeting, we pledged our allegiance to the United States flag and that which it stands for. Can you recite that last portion for us again, please? Can you? One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. On August 17th, you usurped that liberty from the children, the staff, and the community of this school district. All we asked for was a choice. Now, this has to stop. The peddling of fear has to stop. Kids need to be kids. Thank you.
And that ends the hearing of citizens, Madam Chair.
One of them was, how many cases did we have last year? It's either 1,805 or 15 or 45, under 2,000 throughout our school, including staff and students for all of last year. This year, we were starting out, the first week of August, it was 238 for the week. The second week, it was 291. The third week, it was 392. We were on track to exceed the amount of infections in 1 month than we had had the previous year with a mask mandate. The week of August 23rd to the 29th, there were 1,044 cases, positive cases of COVID in our schools. Those aren't numbers we made up. Unfortunately, you can't see the daily ones, and I've been saying all along, I think we ought to put those daily ones out there for people to see. And somebody wanted to know what that total was for last year. I think that should be out there for people to see. But after 1 week, please, I gave you guys time to talk. We listened. It's your turn to listen. Last week, those numbers dropped from 1,044. When we started the masks, it dropped down to 791. It could just be a coincidence, but I think because we had more mask wearing, it happened. And someone else talked about the stress on teachers and families and students. We're all about that. We understand, and what we want to do, every one of us, we're in agreement on this. We want our students in class and learning. We want that. But it's hard to have that when you have students who become infected, with like the 1,000 that we had last week. When that child tests positive, if it's an elementary class, there's probably 4 to 6 kids who then have to go out. High school, it's a lot more. And I've received more than one letter from a mom who said, "Where's my freedom? My child went to school and wore the mask. The teacher didn't wear a mask, and a student in their little pod didn't wear a mask. And she got a call. She had a call that she had to pick her child up from school, and her child told her in elementary school that everybody at their table had to go. Well, why? Well, they said because of the contract, but there was one kid that wasn't there that day, and that was the kid who didn't wear a mask. They probably figured that was the one that tested positive. So when a child tests positive, whether they go to the hospital or not, there's a ripple effect. The ripple effect goes off to other children in that class. And it's a ripple effect to that teacher, because now this teacher has to come up with lessons that has to work with this child. And then it's also a ripple effect on those 5 other families that mom can't go to work now. Mom can't get unemployment because you don't have unemployment this year if you're out for COVID or for quarantines. So it's not just about a child dying. Of course, there's some parents of an 8-year-old up in Tallahassee that would say it's all about that, or the 17-year-old who died last week in Lake City, it's all about that. Some kids are dying. Let's keep our fingers crossed that they don't happen here in Sarasota County. Let's hope that some of our efforts work. What other efforts are we doing? We have put in the virus catching filters in our air conditioning, and we've increased this. Somebody asked what we were doing. Yes, we are doing that. And someone else asked about the Bible. You know, the Bible does speak specifically on masks. It's in Leviticus 13:45. The New International Version says, "Anyone with such a defiling disease must wear torn clothes, let their hair be unkempt, cover the lower part of their face with a mask, and cry out unclean." So, yeah, the Bible does talk about that, but there are some other questions that we need to talk about. But the bottom line is, we want to keep all of our kids in school. That's what we want. We don't want to have 4,000 of our kids home because they're quarantined. We want our kids in school. We want our kids learning. And we've got a lot of parents who want that too. And with that, we will move on to our agenda. Mr. Superintendent, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
The comments, public hearing of citizens is over.
The additions.
The hearing of citizens is completed, ma'am. The hearing of citizens is over.
Mr.
There is one revision to the agenda. An addendum was added to item number 8, the instructional classified personnel report. Attachments were added to items number 37, final budget amendment, and item number 38, annual financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2021.
Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
The hearing of citizens is over, ma'am. We called names. I don't know why. Were you not here the whole time? Did you stay outside? If somebody was outside during hearing of citizen and didn't have somebody listening to call them in, I can't help that. I'm sorry. What do we do? Hearing of citizens.
You have no obligation to let these people speak.
The hearing of citizens happened. We called names. I think she called every name twice. We are working on we are doing the business of the board at this time.
I remember her name.
All right, ma'am, if you sit down, we will look to see if your name was in the list.
It was in the list, and I called it. I remember her name,
All right.
and she did not answer, and we cannot do this, so.
Miss Goodwin said she did call the name.
Did call
She
your
called the
name,
name
ma'am. I
twice,
do
and you were
remember
not
calling your
inside
name,
when your
but
name was called.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, okay. Did everyone vote? Oh, I did. Mine came up. We can pull back the thing and listen to it ourselves. Ma'am, we will review the tape, and if your name was called and you weren't here, that's it. But if your name was not called, we will let you be the first one to speak at the next meeting. Who has not voted yet? Who has not voted yet? Okay, okay. I will personally write you an apology if your name was not called. We will go through the list. New business. Item 39. We're on item 39 of new
I move
business.
for approval of the referendum ballot language as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Please vote.
I'm queuing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Bridget?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Ziegler?
Thank you. So I know we talked about this before, and I think the element is what I said before earlier today in the workshop about taking the opportunity to shift the language for the referendum to 3 years to move it in the future to a general election, which has been a long discussion. And I recognize unless there's been a change of heart, I stand on this fundamentally because I think it's so important to show we are listening. I think that is one of the elements that was, it's been said for a while, and that we need to work together and come together. And that to me, that is why I've gone back and forth. I mean, whether or not whether I make this amendment, but at the end of the day, I believe in it. I believe it's a good faith effort to show our citizens that we're not only being good stewards of fiscal stewards, but that we're listening and we're compromising together. This has been a conversation certainly 3 of the 5 board members have addressed together year over year over year. And it's ironic that I feel like each time I bring it up, it's always said, well, we'll do it next year, we'll do it next year. Well, now it's upon us. The time is now. So I amend the language to change it where it says ending June 30th, 2025.
Second. So you've offered an amendment and there's a second. Is there any other discussion on it?
Yeah, I have.
Ms. Goodwin?
Well, I won't be supporting this because I understand going to a general in '24, but why would we want to cut ourselves down by a year when this is a 4-year and should be, with all intent, I would love to see the legislature make it a 10-year, the ability to go out for 10 years, but I can't support it because I think there are inherent problems with going in a general election, and I would rather see us go in a general election having the 4 years set by this referendum than the 3 years, which shortens it for us by a year, and then if it doesn't pass, be able to go in a special election again. So I will not support it.
I have a question, Ms. Goodwin. If this amendment, I mean, if it passes without the amendment and it has the 4-year language that we've always had, is there anything that would prevent anyone from going and asking for a renewal in 2024?
No, ma'am. In fact, the president has already said in this county as the penny sales tax will come up for a vote possibly, and it looks like it will be next November of 2022 in the general election, and that does not sunset until 2024.
I think I remember discussing this also back in whether or not we were going to put it on the ballot in November of 2022. And there was a discussion about with the COVID and everything like that, it probably wasn't a good time that we would do it, not 2020 to 2020, that we would do it in 2024. I remember having that discussion. So I too will not be supporting this amendment. We don't have that in the system, so we're going to have to take a voice vote. Is there any other comment on it? All in favor of the amendment, changing it from 4 years to 3?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay.
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 So that fails on a 3-2 vote. Now we are on item 39 as presented. Is there any other discussion? We'll vote.
I'm marked.
I'm sorry, there's more discussion. Okay, Ms. Ziegler?
Thank you. So I'm again disappointed, and I really thought it was an opportunity for us to come together. And the logic that was brought forward is, yes, legally can we do it again and put it on in 2024? We've never done this. We've talked about it over and over again. And so I think it's somewhat insulting where it's almost inferred that you can, but you won't. So at the end of the day, though, I care more about our students and our staff who work their rear ends off, especially look at this past week. So I will not allow this division to be an impediment to the referendum and the support this community gives, to rightfully so, to all the hardworking people out there. So I will support it for them. Thank you.
Please vote. We're voting on item 39, new business.
We just did.
Oh, I voted early, I guess. Okay, so it passes 4-1. Item 40.
This is approval for the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards 2022 legislative program that we presented. It has a number of, I think, really thoughtful ideas this year that we can get behind, and hopefully, we did quite a lot of lobbying this past year and had some successes, and I think we can look at parts of that actually to use for our local platform here. Dr. Asplin, we need to, at some point in time, do our own in the next month or so, we need to get our own Sarasota County platform together. So I am very supportive of this. I had worked on it in a legislative meeting 2 weeks ago in Punta Gorda that resulted in this platform.
Ms. Rose?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm respectfully not supporting this in that it was brought forth as an agenda item where some board members participate in this organization and was never up for discussion or collaboration or the input of individual board members and the impact it has on the Sarasota County community. I respect every individual board member's opportunity to put forth an agenda item. I am not supporting an agenda item that didn't come up for collaborative opportunities, discussion, or impact on Sarasota County. Thank you.
Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, just for the record, I was confused on item 39. I meant that to be a 4 vote, so if we can correct that in the minutes.
Wasn't it 4-1?
Yeah, it was my 1, but it was, I thought I was voting on the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry. So do we want to change, make a move to redo the vote? Or do we need to correct? I think we need to redo the vote.
If he's telling you that his vote was an error, if he's telling you that his vote was an error, you don't have to re-vote on that. The minutes can simply reflect what he's saying his vote was.
Okay, I can't see that far, and it's not coming up here, so, okay.
So the vote on that agenda item, I believe it was number 39, was 5-0.
5-0. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Edwards. We're on the legislative consortium. There's a time frame that comes to us, and it has to go back, and
I have some.
Ms. Goodwin?
I was just going to say the consortium, the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards is coastal counties. It starts with Indian River County, and it goes all the way down the east coast of Florida to Miami, and then Monroe County, and then comes up through Collier County, Charlotte County. Lee is not a member. Other than that, every other coastal county is, and goes all the way up to Pinellas County. Manatee is now a member. For a while, they were not a member. And what it is it's things that impact the larger school districts. It's things that impact all of us. We have about 50% of the legislators and 50% of the budgets and 50% of the children in those 12 school districts. So it's things that must be voted on that affect us all. It is not the same thing that we might have as a platform here, but there are bits and pieces of things that certainly are important for us that this organization does. Very heavy involvement with Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade counties, and as I say, we had some great success, although a limited involvement in making trips to Tallahassee last year. But of course, the legislative session is in March, April. In January, February, and March of this year. So look forward to working on that.
The consortium also has most of the issues that they look at are on dollars and cents because we contribute, several of us, of these consortiums members contribute 90% of their funding. And so the majority of the things that they're looking at are ways to ensure that districts that are property rich are not unfairly treated in the legislature. Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate if something wasn't up for a discussion at a workshop. I've had situations like that occur for me. I would just wonder if there isn't any possible way that we could allow for a slight delay in turning in our, I don't know, turning it in. I'd be curious to see if there's anything that you would want to change in there giving you the time to review and be part of that, unless you tell us otherwise that you don't need to review.
May I say
We used to bring it on, and it would also often go on the consent agenda. We can't make changes to it. We could only vote it up or down. Because it was agreed to by a group of school board members from around the state, and
in those counties.
and it's pretty much the same platform that they had last year. They took some things out that passed. So,
No problem. I didn't
and I
realize
would
it
have
was an
loved
up
to
or
have
down.
put this on the agenda, on our workshop agenda. We've had it on the agenda before, and nobody really cared about it, but I do believe now we have some new board members, and we probably should have put it on the workshop, but there were things on the workshop agenda that we've passed by several times before, and we could not get it, especially with all these other new things that were going on the agenda. So I apologize, and if you want, we will discuss it at the next workshop if we have time. But
Well, could I
go
just
ahead.
say that we only got this done the night before we had our special meeting on Friday at 3. So that was how quickly it was done. So we got it the following Monday. So we haven't had another board meeting since we actually pulled this thing together.
And there was no time on the
And there's
on
been
the
no
agenda, I'm
time. And
sorry.
secondly, there's no way of changing anything. It's the kind of thing, if something gets changed by one board, I mean, it could be changed, but I don't know why we'd want it to. It has to be taken off.
Yeah, everything in it we approved last year, so why don't we go ahead and vote? Item 40.
Where's my, it's not coming up again. What's happening? It's not coming up.
Oh, because she changed hers. Yeah, okay. Stay on computer.
What do you want me to do?
Just stay on computer there.
Do you want us to refresh?
So that's the workshop.
Yeah, you gotta drop down, and then it's gonna pop up.
Now it should come up.
You want us to refresh again?
This is what happens when our meetings go long.
Still
I'm not
coming
seeing
up.
it.
Still not coming up.
Item 40,
Still not coming up.
our attorney can vote for it, but we can't.
That's strange.
So let's do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
I'm sorry, was that 2 noes or 1 no?
2 no, well, I count,
No.
no for me.
3 to 2. Item 41.
Item 41 is the public review. You were voting on the public review for the student progression plan. As you know, we make revisions to this every year as a result of laws that are passed during legislative session. Your approval on this one will allow for public review for 30 days, and on September 21st, we will workshop this to give you the changes during the workshop.
And this was originally on the consent agenda. I asked it to go to the new business so that people would be aware that it is being advertised and there is a chance to look at it, and so that you know ahead of time to review it. Is item 41 coming up for a vote? No.
No.
All those in favor of item 41 to approval to advertise the student progression plan?
Was there a motion made and then a second and then discussion on this
Oh, I'm
agenda
sorry.
item?
There was not.
Is there a motion on item 41?
I motion
Oh, go ahead.
for approval to advertise the student progression plan 2021-2022.
Second.
Okay. And we're not going to discuss it now. We'll be discussing it at the workshop. So everybody vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes 5-0. Item 42.
A motion for approval to increase substitute pay up to $50 over the long-term substitute rate as needed.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is why I feel sorry for staff having to stay here for so long. Is there somebody that's going to, oh, I'm sorry.
Dr. Foster.
Tonight, so I'll try to go through quickly, but just kind of wanted to give an update on our substitute situation for 2021-2022 for the first 20 days of the school year. And so we started out needing about 144 subs on day one, increased to nearly 300 as of last Friday. As you can see, as we've needed more subs, it's become a little bit more difficult to fill the sub rate. So we've done some things to address it, just to kind of give an overview of what it looks like over the first 20 days. The blue line shows the number of subs needed. The orange line shows the number of lines of the subs filled. So as we've needed more, we've had a gap there as far as the difference. If we look at it week by week, first week we had an 81% fill rate, a little bit lower than where we were pre-COVID, but as we've gone through these last few weeks, we've had more staff members out, which has led to rates averaging in the 70s, going up to 71% last week, or down to 71. This gives the fill rate over the last 4 years. So if you look at 2018, 19, 19, 20, pre-COVID, we were in the 90s, 100% fill rate for the first 20 days. Going to 2020, 2021, which was last school year, you can see we were in the 70s to 80s. And then this year, in the first 20 days, we've had 5 days already where we were in the 60% range. And, you know, it makes it difficult for classrooms when the schools are trying to fill their classrooms, having to pull different staff members, possibly at Title I schools. They're pulling Title I teachers to cover classrooms. It's pulling away from providing other services. If we look at the substitute fill rate over the years, you can see the graph. We were, as a district, doing extremely well, close to that 100%. These last 2 years have been a little bit more difficult in trying to address, on top of needing more subs. Obviously, there's also difficulty in hiring. Now there's a shortage of people, which has also added to the concern. Some of the things that we have done, one thing was to increase sub pay to the long-term rate. So that's something we did just recently, starting on August 25th, increasing the pay. So you can see the base rate from 101 to 125, all the way up for a master's, 132 to 152. So increasing that rate has helped us bring in more subs. We also have assigned subs to specific schools where we see that there's a high need. That we continue to monitor. So currently we have at Northport High 3 dedicated subs, Heron Creek, Woodland, and Glen Allen, 2 dedicated subs, and that's something that I work with the instructional team to monitor that daily. Those subs are assigned to the school to fill in positions. So they're not additional positions. They're the first ones that then go to fill positions that are needed at the school. Other things, our recruiters, they hosted 2 job fairs last week. One was in North Sarasota at the library in Newtown. The other one was at STC in Northport. We've also reached out to parents to recruit parents to help sub. As you can see, we've increased our subs over the first 20 days by quite a few. We had a great response from parents, starting with about 530 subs on the first day that were active in the system. We're up to 789 subs now active in the system. And basically what we're asking for today is to be able to increase sub pay up to $50 beyond that long-term rate as needed at select school sites. So one thing that we're noticing, there are certain schools that are extremely hard to fill. Usually it's Title I or South County. And so we want to be able to target pay specifically to positions or to schools where we need to fill sub positions. So with that, I can take questions or.
And so I think this is a good idea. We need to get those subs so that we can give additional help to these teachers who are at the schools, and also to have those ones assigned to the certain schools that were having the high rates that are students that are out, teachers that are out. But I applaud your working on this to try to come to some solution. And I'm sure that this will probably be covered under COVID dollars when we get those dollars. I appreciate it. Is there any other questions from board members?
Thank you, Dr. Foster. Appreciate that. Board members, if I may, you saw that we have around 789 subs, and we have anywhere from 250 to 300 openings a day. 789 subs, 250 to 300 openings. This $50 will help us to have more people who we already have on the list decide to sub. So appreciate that.
I believe we just do voice vote from here on out. I don't think the computer's working, and
We need a motion and a second.
there's already been
We
motion
did
and seconded.
motion in a second.
Motion, seconder.
Thank you.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it passes 5-0. Item 43.
A motion for approval of vocational instructional program agreement between PGT Industries, Inc. and the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida.
Second.
Dr. DePillo?
Good evening, Board. I won't keep you much longer. The project that's on the plate today is a pilot project that came together through fruition through CareerSource and a couple engagement conversations with those parties at PGT and Mr. Jennings here, who's in charge of our Career Technical Education Department in Sarasota County. I'll let him fill you in on the details of this exciting project.
Thank you, Dr. DePillo. I did have a representative from PGT with me here tonight, but she had to go home to a family. She wasn't able to stick around this late, but I'm happy to speak on her behalf. She did text me what she was going to say, so I will read that in a moment. But this is, like Dr. DePillo said, this is not something new. You can think of it like an internship where students will go to the PGTI campus and earn elective credits during the school day, but while they're there, they will learn the soft skills, lean manufacturing principles, OSHA safety, hands-on, and get to experience what it's like working at PGT. So at the end of this, it could turn into full-time jobs for them right after graduation, or they could go on to do whatever their choice is post-high school. The idea is to get us out of the way and connect the kids with employers. That's kind of one of my passions in my position. So that's really what this is about. Started with a phone call from PGT to Dr. DePillo and I saying, how do we get more students, teenagers interested in manufacturing? And then in particular, how do we get them to come work for us at PGT? We took a tour of the facility, thought that's what we need to do is get kids there. That's what will get them interested and hooked. So that's what this is. I'll go ahead and read what Rachel said. My name is Rachel Evans, and I'm Vice President of Human Resources for PGT Industries. I've worked in manufacturing for more than 25 years and have seen a lot of struggles in the market to attract and retain skilled labor in the maintenance, automation, welding, tool and die professions. I am proud to be part of this initiative and develop this program aimed at high school students. Through this partnership with Sarasota County Schools, we will be able to set our industry up for success in the future. We are also preparing these students for life after high school. There are jobs right here in Sarasota County where you can earn very solid wages and continue to grow through experiences and education. I am excited to say that today was the first day for 3 such Venice High School students. We will be teaching these students not only about how to be good employees for their employer through soft skills, communication, written and oral skills, as well as learning skilled trades under tight supervision. We hope that this will turn into a bigger program as we move forward. Thank you for your support. So on behalf of PGT and Career and Tech Education, thank you for allowing us to go down this venture in these difficult times.
And I want to thank you for staying here with us, and please, my apologies to Rachel. When we saw this on the agenda, we thought this was a wonderful thing. We shouldn't hide it in the consent agenda. This is a new program, we need to make sure, well, first, we need to make sure all the board knows it's a new program, but also the community to know it's a new program where we're partnering with one of our largest industries here and to help our students. So thank you for coming, and again, give my apologies to Rachel.
We will, and don't forget, Ms. Brown, that we talked about when this program is successful towards May, we're going to bring back Rachel and some of those students and show you the impact it has had on those students.
Thank you. Thank you for your initiatives. Have we make
A motion and a second on the table.
Vote.
Please vote.
Yeah, voice vote.
All, voice vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So that passes also 5-0. Oh, that brings us to the end of our meeting, and I have a cheat sheet back here, do I? Let's see. Our next meeting will be a public hearing to adopt the final millage and budget meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 14th at 5:15 in this chambers. The next monthly work session is scheduled for Tuesday, September 21st, followed by the board meeting at 3 p.m. We stand adjourned. Ma'am, I went through the cards, and there is not one with your name on it, Julie. You're welcome to look.